Good evening and welcome to Thursday's Poker Night Live with me, Nick Wealthall, and Dr. Tom. How are you, Doctor?
I'm very well, Nick, and it's very astute of you to know what day it is. I lose track myself.
What I do is I look at a calendar just before we go on air.
Brilliant. The secrets of TV.
The secrets of a poker player knowing what day it is. Very rare.
Very rare.
Now, you're excited because you're going to play the public tonight, aren't you?
I am. The General Pubic. It's thrilling. Can't wait for it.
Stepping up to the plate, ladies and gentlemen. He will be playing a selection of you in our new feature, Beat the Presenter. And just before we went on air, Tom guaranteed to me victory. So that gives you a little incentive to play.
Yes, that's not quite true, but I hope I won't let you down, Nick.
I think it's possible.
I should say here, I'm having trouble logging into the account that's been set up for me by the powers that be. So I'm going to be playing on Kara's account tonight, so look out for great Scott. And Kara, if you're watching, sorry love, there's nothing I can do.
It's what she would have wanted.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
So $50 sit and go with what remains of her bankroll.
There you go, guys. Just one of our new features, which I hope you've been enjoying all week. We're pretty excited about, especially the opportunity for you to sit down with us. I'm particularly excited about it because I've managed to not have to do it yet, which is brilliant. Tom will be on at about 11 o'clock if you want to either go and watch the game or participate in it. Now, as ever, we've got our usual 4 hours of online poker for you, mixed in with all of that goodness, tournament and cash games, and of course it's your show. You decide what we talk about here in the studio, and it couldn't be easier to get in touch with us. We're looking for your texts, your emails, your phone calls. Here's how you can go about it. Text 62211, 62211. Or if you have an internet-capable device, such as a home PC or BlackBerry, you can email poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. And you can also have your say, our new contact facility. Have your voice booming out in the Poker Night Live studio. 0906 200 7080 is the magic number. 0906 200 7080. I'm saying it twice in the hope that it'll go into my brain and I won't need to read it off the screen. Do you know it yet?
No, I haven't got a clue.
Exactly.
Sorry.
It's not easy, is it? This presenting lark.
I'll get the hang of it someday.
Yes. We would like to hear from you, whatever means you choose. And we'd like to hear from you whether you're a beginner and you're new to poker, or whether you've been watching this show for months and you're a pro. Of course, we want your questions, your queries, your anecdotes, your poker experiences, whatever you like, guys. Do get in touch. As I said, as well as all the new features, we've got our usual mix of games. So let's take a little look at what's on offer at the moment.
Okie dokie, let's have a look. Table 1, we've got a $10 sit and go here. No sign of Hoofy, maybe he vacated seat 3. Look, Shall My Bell, I think that's a tribute to our own night nurse there up in seat 3.
Apparently it is. That's somebody by the name of Clive, who describes his biggest poker thrill as sitting next to Michelle on Monday night and playing in the tournament.
This is in a virtual tournament?
Yes.
Oh, wow, that's a big thrill for us all. This is a $20 tourney.
You know Hoofy's not playing because he's getting in the zone for you.
Oh, is he?
I would imagine.
Well, I'm going to sit down in seat 3 of whatever table I choose, just to get him out of the zone. And we've got 25-cent, 50-cent game here. Some of these people were definitely on that table last night. V3 Ranger, Matt Top Straight, Clay. Take a rest, guys. It'll be good for your game. Bit of green. I've got a feeling might be a bit of a green coming our way. Yes, there it is, a multi-table tourney. It's already galloped off to the second level of the blinds. So we will be dropping in on that baby throughout the night. That's it.
Have you been enjoying the multi-table tournament final tables?
I love the multi-table tournament because there's so much play. There's a whole lot of history behind it, you know. So it's terrific. But mostly it's the amount of play that there is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. If anybody wants to improve their tournament game, watching the final table, I think, is just brilliant education. What to do, what not to do, and it is great stuff. We hope you'll stay with us for that. That'll be coming up in a couple of hours, I'd imagine. Another one of our new features is our interactive competition that we'd like you at home to play along with. Use your poker skills to determine what's in the hole. Oh yeah. That's my introductory voice in absentia of a theme tune, which we don't have yet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not great, I know. It's in the early stages of development, Tom, don't.
Okay, good, you know. Did you ever play jazz?
No, and I think that's evident.
Okay. Well, I've already had a little think about this, Nick.
Yes.
So, but I'm not going to blab all, because I don't want to ruin the fun for the viewers.
Yes, this is introduced last night and will run up to 12 o'clock tonight, so you've got a couple of hours to guess. for those of you that haven't seen it before, you're trying to guess what Frankie Doodle Dandy has as his hole cards based on his betting patterns. He's called a pre-flop raise, he's checked, and he probably does some more stuff in a minute. Now, you don't have to guess his actual cards. You can if you want to be flash. All we need to know is his holding. So at the end of the hand, does he have a full house, a flush, a straight, nothing? What do you think he's got?
I think they should say whether he's got a house of kings or a house of nines, Nick. That wouldn't be too much to ask, would it?
All right.
Sorry to make it...
No, you've always been a man of high standards, and I respect that, Tom.
Yep. It'd be nice, wouldn't it, to have a pack of cards where there are question marks on the back like that, because it does convey the essential problem of poker. What's your opponent got?
Yes, very true. And also reminds me of the first round of A Question of Sport from the late 80s.
Yeah, there is a rather similar font going on there, isn't there?
He makes the bet on the end. Nobody calls him. Is it a bluff? Does he have a super strong hand? If you think you know, text the word hole, your name, and what his holding is to our normal number, 62211. We're going to have a leaderboard so we can see which of you guys has the best hand reading skills, and we're going to have monthly prizes as well, so plenty of incentive to get involved. We're about an hour away from Dr. Tom playing live. You can take us over this next hour through your traditional pre-match routine.
I can't go to the pub, it's too early.
There we are. Lucky socks, lucky pants,
They're
already on.
Same old socks, been wearing them for weeks.
Perfect. We're looking forward to, I hope you're going to stick around for the whole show, guys. We've got a jam-packed lineup. But for now, let's drop in on a multi-table tournament. Early stages, of course. We'll visit it throughout the night and then show you as much of the final table as we can. And they're just at 15:30, which I think is the second level, I presume.
Yep. Baldy Balls, there he is. Extraordinary name. Quite extraordinary in the names people come up with. And no one's got much there, so Davies takes it down with his lowly pair of fours.
We've got 205 players left, Tom, out of a starting field of 244.
Oh, yeah.
So, again, another sizable tournament spread across 31 virtual tables.
All right, I think I'll say that again, shall I? I'll start again, shall I?
No, well,
I had a theory
the
about the opening stages of this tournament, which is that everyone wants to get to the final table because that is where, of course, you get yourself on TV.
Sure.
So people are going to take more risks early on because they say, well, I'll sit down, go and double up, and if I don't double up, I'll go and play something else. Yes. So maybe this is a game with great value in the first sort of half an hour or so, where people are finding out whether it's in their interests to play sensibly or not.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Well, I think you could be right, because we have seen players drop like flies, haven't we? They've dropped away very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
There is a big cull in the first hour of this tournament, so I think you're probably right. We should probably play in it, shouldn't we, when we're not here?
Maybe. I'll probably play under Cara's account.
Yeah, you have added a little bit of extra pressure to yourself there, Tom.
Well, as far as I see it, I've taken the pressure off. Because I'm playing with someone else's money.
Uh-huh. Interesting. You get on well with her, do you? Because I heard she was unlucky last night. I didn't see it myself.
She was, yeah. She got her queens cracked. She ran into aces. Well, they weren't cracked. They were completely mullered by aces.
That's reasonably unfortunate, though, isn't it, to find aces when you're sitting with queens?
It is, and I consoled her with that fact. Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to poker, Cara.
Yeah. Doesn't get any better.
No. We've switched MTT tables just to give you a flavour of some different action.
Sharkbait. Oh, there's Big Shan, one of our regular sit-and-go players.
Uh-huh.
I wonder if Old Pig is sitting down. He's a real final table finisher, regular.
Well, he won it on... trying to get my day sorted out. That was true about only knowing the day it is because I check. I think it was Tuesday night he won it.
Mm-hmm. Let's go to his table, see how he's getting on. all right. It's got more than he started with.
Yeah. Almost doubled up, in fact.
Do you remember Sun Tzu, Nick, who used to play on the 25-50 cash game?
Oh, yeah, but I haven't seen him for a while, personally.
Well, I heard a
But
rumour
he used to play. He was always playing, wasn't he?
that he's knocking around on this very $10 multi-table tourney.
Is he?
I think he's still looking for a sponsorship deal for Poker Night Live.
Well, we all are.
Well, we got one, didn't we? $50 each.
Yeah, but that, could grow into $85.
Could do.
With good play, good money management.
Yep. Maybe by the end of the year. Well, what's Bambi going to do with his gut shot straight?
He's going to bet it like the hero he is, of course.
Yep. Oh dear.
Well, he's picked up another bunch of outs, so he may well bet again, and he may well get raised.
And surely Mr. Smith has got to call this.
He did get raised.
Oh.
Well, there we are. I think there could be something in your theory, having watched that enterprising bit of betting.
There he is, C1.
Well, the rumours are true. And further credence to your theory that the lure of a multi-table tournament final appearance is bringing in some... Put it this way, I don't think Sun Tzu plays in too many $10 buy-in multi-table tournaments.
Unless he plays in $10 all year until he's got his stake together to sit down in the 25-50 cash game. And then if he blows it, he goes back. But no, I think probably he's just like flies to honey coming to the TV cameras.
Well, it is a chance to get an extended bit of your play on TV, no doubt about that. As Tom and I have mentioned, there's a lot of play in our final table, and usually gives us a decent length of entertainment and a really good look at how to play multi-table tournament final tables, so stick around for that. We're going to go over to a $20 tourney to warm things up.
Ooh la la, let's go and learn something about sit-and-go strategy then.
Yes, now you were very keen to discuss the amount of variance in one-table tournaments
huge.
tonight.
It's huge. You certainly shouldn't judge a man by his performance on a given year.
I've heard that even an expert poker player can go out early in a one-table tournament.
Often with a move that looks ridiculous.
Interesting.
Gus Hansen, I would say if Gus Hansen was playing a sit-and-go, people might wrongly believe he made a Muppet call when he was clearly beat. But he knows that in the long run, those Muppet calls are going to add up to a massive expectation.
This is the thing when watching pros, isn't it? That there are layers of complexity of the thought that may not be immediately appreciable on the surface.
Deep, deep spirals of metaphysical logic.
We'll look forward to having all those explained when Tom plays in a bit.
I can only try and hint at them.
Really?
Yeah.
A lot of it's soaked so far into your subconscious that even you can't appreciate the levels of thought, presumably.
Most of it involves ace-queen, but, I can only hint at it.
And over-betting.
Those sorts of things. But we'll do our best.
Our one-table tournament. If you're new to the show, you're watching a no-limit one-table tournament. These are real players from the internet. They've all paid $20 to be here, and that generates the prize pool, which they'll share out at the end of the tournament. They all get some chips to start with, 1,200 chips to start with, and they play no-limit hold'em, which means they can bet any amount of those chips at any time, and they play till they are either one of the last 3 remaining players or until all their chips have gone. And then the prize pool is shared out 50% for first place, so that's $80. 30% for second and 20% for third, and the other 5 players go home with nothing. Apart from their TV appearance in this case.
Which they can video and send off to their grandma.
Yeah. And either present it as a story of triumph or a horror movie, depending on how they played.
Well, you can be sure that they will be the heroes of their own story.
Already this Thursday night's got like a lyrical bent to it. I can feel some great themes welling up.
I'm dimly aware of them, but not.
Well,
so
you want to become more aware of them, I tell you. Well, the classic tragedy is one man that has it all losing it.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it?
And possibly getting redemption at the end?
Maybe getting redemption in the end, we'll see.
Okay.
Depends if it turns round.
So, ace-jack suited, Nick. Could you just give me a quick reminder about how you should play that in earlyish position when it's been limped?
Curious way to play it by Lubold, which is the small raise, which almost, it's like a Dickens character name. The name suggests what it is. Like the little raise suggests that it's an ace-jack or something that might be all right, but he's a little bit ashamed of.
Wow.
I can't think of a Dickensian name now, but you know what I'm saying. He used to have names like...
Well, names like Lubold.
Names like Lubold, yeah. Or Scrooge. I think the meaning was added after the event.
Well, it's a bit of a Dickensian scenario here. He's got to go all in, and he's going to be surprised to find out that he's actually ahead, not drawing.
Yep. JGD drawing very thin. And the flush will not help him.
Ah, well. Good. Right, I'm glad we've sorted that out.
We had almost all the spades out of that hand because I think there are another couple folded before the flop. Do you see how though I did talk utter rubbish, I also managed to avoid having to address how to play ace-jack
yes,
in a no-limit game?
I did notice. I had my pen poised on the paper, but just...
In the early stages of sit and go, like this, which is a very fast structure, I would limp also and hope that it's limped around. In a game where there was more play and less pressure to accumulate chips, I would happily throw away my ace-jack because it's not a hand that I enjoy playing.
The thing is with ace-jack is if you have limped and got a load of other callers, I mean, what are you hoping to see? You're so worried about pretty much anything. You've got to pop in a bet if you hit the jack, you've got to pop in a bet if you hit the ace, but if you get a call, you've got to wonder where you are because you've let so many people in to see the flop. I mean,
it's a troublesome hand to play.
It is a troublesome hand.
I mean, if you hit the ace...
along with all the others.
They're all tricky fellows, aren't they? If you hit the ace and it's an unraised pot, you can be reasonably confident that at that point you probably have the best hand. But obviously, not always, but you can be reasonably confident you have the best hand. Going forward in the hand, if you are called in more than one place, you are in a difficult position, aren't you? So it's not ideal. Ace-jack's not a hand we want to mess about with particularly, is it?
It would be fair to say ace-jack is a hand that you probably should play to make money in the long run, but if you fold it, then you save yourself a difficult decision later on that hand. Yeah,
well, I mean, I think if you fold it, you're not leaving much profit on the table, are you?
No.
Especially not early on in a one-table tournament. But...
Fold, ace-jack.
Just something you can bear in mind in about an hour.
Okay.
But, as Casper and I were talking about, and we'll see what your approach is to this tournament, because the structure is so fast, I mean, we cover these, this is an interesting hand, we've got a set versus a nut flush draw, and a straight draw. Pretty much guaranteed the chips were going to go in, and the set stands up. Because Casper's philosophy, which I lean towards, is in late position, it's worth entering pots if you know it's going to be cheap early on in these sit and goes, because it's not enough just to wait for premium hands, because the structure's so fast.
Well, I agree. There's not much skill in late in the game, so if there is skill, it must be early in the game.
Yeah. So if you can get into hands and then play people post flop, that's probably how you accumulate some chips. But that is in contrast to what a lot of opinion would say is the way to play sit and goes, which is to sit tight and then make moves later on.
I don't subscribe to that point of view. You've got to accumulate the chips.
No, neither do I. Neither does Casper. But I think there are plenty of people that do. I think James, for example, would take the other view, and several poker writers would take the other view as well.
I think the trouble with poker writers is they've got to sell books. And they can't sell a book saying, look, poker is difficult. Basically, once you've worked out the concept of pot odds, you've then got to approach each hand in terms of what it offers you, which is in fact how you do play poker. You approach each hand in terms of the cards you've got, what you think your opponent's got, what's on the table, and so on. They need to find, or their publishers need them to find a simple tawny strategy that they can explain in a book of suitable length to people who don't want to think too hard about how to play a hand of poker. They want the special kind of insider knowledge about how to win a tournament all in one go, as it were. And so that's what sells books, but I don't believe it. I think poker is mostly just playing individual hands of poker.
Yes.
But I probably will end up, in 10 years selling a book on tawny strategy.
10 years, I think.
5 years, maybe.
No, I'm sure yourself and Casper have had similar conversations. I think that the way to make somebody a better poker player is to teach them the different variables they should be thinking about and the different tools they can use to exploit those variables, because it's such a situational game. But you're right, because simple solutions are needed, then it becomes much more of a rote, sit tight for 3 levels, open up on the 4 type, because how do you put into print something as non-specific as a situational game? So we're watching a $20 sit and go. 6 players left. It's been 5 players left. It's been quite fast and furious. And we'll be watching this, dipping into our multi-table tournament. And at 11 o'clock, Dr. Tom will be online, and he'll be playing 7 of you lucky punters in a real game of poker.
Under the name Great Scott.
Under the name Great Scott, yes, good point. And then at 12 o'clock, we will be watching the game back, and Tom will be taking us through the thought processes which
carer
has used.
Yep.
So it's a real opportunity to get involved, guys, if you'd like to either play or watch the game online, and then, of course, to comment on and enjoy the analysis of a top pro playing in a game. We hope you're enjoying this feature at home. We think it's a great thing, and has added a lot. That's all coming up from 11 o'clock. For now, we've got Stianius making a big raise with aces. It's 4 times the big blind, but it's a bit bigger than most of the raises so far at this table, so I imagine it looks quite scary. And sure enough, it wins the blinds. You can get in touch with the show, text or email 62211, email poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. As ever, we've got new features, but nothing changes, guys. It's still your show, and we still want to hear from you. We're still here to answer your questions and queries and try and make you better players. Sheffy versus Lubold. Lubold has hit top pair. And the blinds really aren't that high yet, considering we've only got 5 players left. It has been fast and furious. Nothing for Sheffy here, I don't think. Perhaps flirting with the idea of a courageous check raise bluff, but it didn't happen.
Having said that sitting back to wait until there's 5 or 6 players left, or 5 players maybe, is not necessarily the route to tournament riches. In some games, like, for example, the $2 game, where routinely you're down to a bubble situation with maybe at 3rd level of the blinds, now I think that definitely is a wise strategy to pursue. But generally, your equity doesn't increase that much by having people knocked out until you literally get to the bubble, when there's 6 players left, and even 5 in most normal games. If you're the short stack, you don't enjoy much in the way of equity advantages because people are looking to pick on you. And even if you're not the short stack, if your chip stack hasn't grown much in the time that those players have been knocked out, you're still, simulations suggest, not enjoying much higher equity, and certainly you're enjoying less equity from there being fewer players less in than you would enjoy if you'd simply accumulated a few chips.
So some work has been done on that.
Yeah, the independent chip model is a good simulator for that, and you can find that on the web. If you type an independent chip model into a Google search or likewise, then you'll find a simulator there, and you can muck around with it. assume that 10 players or 8 players sit down with 1,000 chips each and just muck around with how your equity changes as the players get knocked out and the chip stacks change and the chip stacks become more uneven. The more uneven the chip stacks are, the greater equity you enjoy, assuming that your stack itself doesn't change.
Kings versus ace-8 here. So what you're saying is that well, this is bad for Sheffy, although he does have goose covered, so he won't be game over for him. So what you're saying is that the importance of your tournament life.
Do you think Sheffy can get away from this, actually? He's bet small and being called. I'm sure Goose is going to make an all-in bet at some point.
It's a good test of what level of player Sheffy is, I think.
He's starting to look very iffy now, because Goose would be calling with a worse hand, wouldn't he, Nick? Not raising. There's no draw there.
Yeah, well, Sheffy's just called. Maybe he does smell a rat. And Goose obviously must go all in here, really. Or bet 194.
Well, I think he can call that.
You couldn't try and look more suspicious, could you? I've left these 116 there for another sit and go I've got planned in a minute.
194 is my lucky number when I'm bluffing.
Yes.
Sorry, you were saying?
No, well, just to wrap that up, he did. Any time you get check raised on the turn like that, especially a minimal check raise on the turn, it sends alarm bells ringing in my head. Because people will very rarely do that as a bluff. That almost always betrays a lot of strength. But yeah, Sheffy stayed alive. I was saying, so the importance of the tournament life, to quote a phrase or saying, in a one-table sit and go, has been exaggerated.
Yeah.
In general writings on the subject, would you say?
I think so. I really do think so. You need to really... Obviously, to get third place, you don't necessarily need to have a huge stack when you arrive there. I'm not saying that you should only worry about getting first, although that should feature as one of your considerations, because that's where most of the money is. But to get to third place, although you might not need to have a big stack when you get there, you will have needed to have picked up a lot of chips, because you have to give so many of them back in blinds.
Yes.
So just to get third, you really have to accumulate a lot of chips. And if worrying about getting knocked out is stopping you accumulating chips, then you're on a hiding to nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that makes perfect sense to me. I would like you to discuss the matter the next time you're on with Mr. James Browning.
All right. You can text in and goad
and
us.
I will watch it with avid interest, because he definitely has a different perspective.
I think Mark's also in a different school from
Really?
me. He prefers to wait.
Yeah. Well, and the great thing is, of course, you can see these different styles played out on the show now.
You can.
You can. We will all be having a go. Apparently I can't phone in sick for long enough, can I, to avoid it.
Now watch me fold jacks time after time.
Yeah. Well, Johan Harren, I would say, probably is more of a sit quietly then make big moves later on school of player, although he does, I don't know, he's a pretty good player, isn't he? Because he has different weapons in his arsenal, Johan Harren.
He does. He's certainly happy to take a view.
Yeah. And this is, of course, the bottom line, guys, to any of these strategy discussions. You need to be capable of playing all the different styles. Because, as Tom said, if you're in a tournament where it's carnage early on, obviously it's going to pay you to be a little bit more patient. If you're at a tight table, the reverse is true. So you do need to be reflexive in your styles. I don't particularly believe in approaching a tournament with a game plan, because I think your game plan should be conditional on the circumstances that you find yourself in.
I absolutely agree.
I don't understand people who talk about my game plan in the tournament is this, or I want to do this. There's nothing wrong with having with visualising success or getting into the right frame of mind, but actually having a strategy for a tournament, I think, is a mistake, because it's so dependent on your seat.
It's like a martial art, Nick, isn't it? I mean, you can't say, we'll line up our artillery here and we'll fire here. In martial art, you don't know what your opponent's going to do. You just trust in your ability to react appropriately.
That's absolutely what it is. I told you there'd be some big themes.
Huge themes.
Huge themes.
Pure
Theme of-
poetry.
Well, it's
Dribbling
Buddhism,
from our mouths.
It's Buddhism, basically. You have to...
Oh, you've gone one further, Nick.
Well, it is. What you're suggesting is Buddhism, because you have to be in the moment. This is the great basketball coach, Phil Jackson, who led the Chicago Bulls to 6 championships. His great philosophy was to be in the moment. So he wouldn't particularly have game plans, although he would have notes for his players. But what he would do was equip them so that they could execute any game plan given the situation. Because he was basically very into Buddhism. It was all about the now. And poker is all about the now, because great poker players are the ones that can execute in the moment. Lots of poker players can look at a game and say, well, actually, what you should have done was X, and they'll be right. But only a few poker players have the ability to completely execute correctly in any given moment.
So Andy Black, in
Yes.
what did so well at the World Series and
Yes.
was voted all-round nice guy as well, is a Buddhist.
Yes.
There you go.
Oh, I think
And the Dalai Lama is
would
well
be a
known.
blinding pot limit player.
Is a cheeky bluffer of the highest order.
He just has that fixed smile, and you fold like a
No tails on him.
cheap suit. No tails. Yeah, I think I'm not sure how compatible the taking of other people's money in a game of cards is with Buddhism. Andy Black's always been quite good at sort of fudging those lines. But in terms of life skills and the characteristics you need to be a good player, there's no doubt that Buddhism is perfect preparation.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
And helps you deal with those bad beats too.
Well, of course.
Fantastic.
King's Johan Harren. And bear in mind, that is how big the themes are 40 minutes into the show. Think where we're going to be at 1:30 in the morning.
We'll just be
After you've done your chips on Jack 7 or something.
no, Kara's chips.
Kara's
We'll just be blobs of pure energy by then, Nick. Would have transcended bodily form.
I've always been a deeply spiritual man. Ask my wife. Yeah, and Aaron's all in with Ace King.
He's had a bit of a glut of cards.
Yeah.
I'm tempted here to give out advice about how to play hands that's directly contrary with what I'm intending, but unfortunately I think I'll be quickly seen through. It's a bit difficult because I've described how to play sit and goes for the last year, so people know exactly what I think about particular hands. You're not going to catch me playing ace rack.
You are in an interesting position.
I am. I'm bent over barrel, that's what I am.
If you just joined us, guys, from 11 o'clock, Dr. Tom will be playing in a sit-and-go tournament under the name Great Scott, because he's not putting his own money up, he's putting Kara's money up. And he'll be playing from 11 if you want to watch it online or compete in our Beat the Presenter segment. And from 12, we'll be watching the entire game back with all cards visible. And Tom will be able to either revel in the gloriousness of his display or rip himself to pieces on live TV.
Or,
his choice.
Or justify his strange plays.
The rationalisation awaits. Johan Harren with an interesting decision. He decides to call with the King Jack and hits his hand. Interesting decision for about 1,000 chips. The big blind was 320, so for about 700. I think that's almost certainly the right decision, given that Lubold could have been making a move to steal the big blind. And that also Johan Harren would leave himself with 1,870 chips, more than enough to be competitive, and has now put himself in pole position to win this thing.
Can anyone stop him? Beautiful situation when you're the sole big chip leader when there's 4 people left. Time to bully. I've read David Sklansky advising that in a situation where there's lots of short stacks and the shortest stack, you're at the bubble, the shortest stack goes all in against you, the chip leader, and you've got queens, you should consider throwing them away, Nick. Because by letting, by either doubling up or either by possibly knocking him out, which you probably will with queens, you then burst the bubble and all the other players with slightly bigger stacks will start playing back at you.
What a fascinating bit of thinking.
Yeah, difficult, I think, even for David Sklansky to pull off. I mean, if he manages to put down the queens there, it's because he loves his own theories of poker.
Where is that?
It's in one of the, I think it's either in Tournament for Poker for Advanced Players or in one of the Malmouth No, but he didn't write those. It must be the tournament for advanced players.
Is it? I don't recall that.
Tournament
But I haven't read that for ages. That's very interesting.
And there's certainly logic to it.
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
But I don't think I would.
I think he's possibly picked too extreme an example to prove his point, because I think there's probably a point there, but Queens is taking that idea a long way, isn't it? Because your expectation is so positive of...
Yeah, but then if the small stack really is very small, the number of chips you win relative to chipping away at the larger but still small stacks. It's the sort of thing you'd love to do if you had a TV camera under the table, so that you could then wow people later in talking about it.
That's, yeah, absolutely.
Unless you've got bubbled yourself, in which case you look pretty stupid.
Well, Johan Haren's cheekily picked up a bit of dead money here. Goose goes out in his bubble boy. Stanius made up the blind, then Johan Haren raised, creating 320 chips worth of dead money. Good for him. And, Johan Haren, one of our regulars on the sit and go tournaments, has most of the chips, but it can all change very quickly, as we see every night on the show. Looking for your texts and emails, guys. As ever, the text number 62211, the email's poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. And you can also phone us. And if I knew the phone number, I would share it with you.
Well, if I knew it, I might prompt you, Nick, but I might not.
Look. Thank goodness for competent behind-the-scenes teams rescuing presenters.
Someone must have just leant on the right button by mistake.
0906 200 7080 to hear your dulcet tones in our studio and ask us whatever you'd like to ask us. Johan Haren putting the pressure on Sheffy. Sheffy has to call, even with 8-5.
Yep, and he's not in terrible shape. He's about 42% there.
The Jack's going to play, and down to the heads up. And, the blinds have just gone up. I was about to say extremely low blinds to get to the heads up.
Do you think, Nick, we can have a chip movement graph at the end of this tournament? Please, please, please.
See what I can do.
Okay, thanks.
See what I can do. I can't promise.
You promised.
I can't promise. Stanius doubles through, and suddenly Johan Haren's no longer the chip leader. That's how fast and furious these heads-up battles are.
He's furious.
Yeah, he is furious. Stick with us for the multi-table tournament heads-up, and you'll see a very different scenario. And Stanius has this one almost locked up.
Yep. Oh dear.
It's all gone horribly wrong for Johan at the death.
Can he get out of it? No, he can't. Oh well, second place ain't so bad.
No, I think your mission in these... I say your mission in the general, but I also tonight mean you, is to get to the heads up and then hope things fall your way, because the blinds are so big by that time. There's the chip movement graph. And
Cool.
you can see, look at that big reversal at the end.
Yeah, it's like two dinosaurs, one lowering his head to drink and the other craning skyward for the tastiest eucalyptus leaves.
In front of a whole herd of very low dinosaurs just eating grass there.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Going to take some of your emails, guys. Crispy has emailed in and says, I've been watching the show for about a year now. Well, a year would be the maximum, because we're very near our official birthday. If you do want to send in a cake, I'd encourage you positively. I remember Dr. Tom talking about poker calculators some time ago, and feel the time has come for me to invest in one. I've been searching the web and there's plenty of choice. Would it be possible for you to review a few, give me an idea of which one to plump for, or even recommend one? Well, I don't know if we can get product specific. No idea, but Tom can certainly tell you what to look for.
I'm going to put my job on the line. First of all, there's a terrific free one on the web called Poker Stove, which is absolutely brilliant and does literally 7 million hands in about 5 seconds. It's called Poker Stove. Type in Poker Stove and have a look at it. It's absolutely free. Download it. It's brilliant. You can also just log on to a website and like the Hendon Mob or Card Player magazine, they have poker calculators there. If you want to splash out some money, you can buy Wilson software, as I did years and years ago when there was no such simulators on the web. So I forked out something like $60 for the Omaha and the Holden varieties. But Poker Stove, I would definitely recommend.
Good stuff. Do you think there's an appreciable difference enough to pay money nowadays, or do you think the ones on the internet will cover most people?
Don't pay money. Wilson software does other fancy things. You can do quite nice things with that. But if you're just looking for the matchups, either two-way or three or four-way matchups, then the free ones on the web are absolutely fine. The thing with Poker Stove is you do have to download it and install it, but I haven't found my computer infested with viruses as a consequence.
I think you're quite unlucky if you get a virus from downloading things, aren't you? Email from David. I can't wait to see Dr. Tom's performance tonight. I'm looking forward to seeing his legendary, aggressive, tight play.
Great.
And it also says, go Tom, go.
You won't be disappointed. Yeah, go very early, probably. You won't be I'm just hoping to last longer than Kara. Or at least be only like one behind Kara.
Or at least go out with a good hand like she did.
Yes.
And not something bluffy.
Yes.
I don't know. The thing is, if you do go out early, we'll learn from that, won't we?
We will.
It's a win-win situation, I think.
That's right.
Not for your pride, but for the viewers and what they get from the item.
Who cares about pride? I gave it up a long time ago. About 10 minutes ago.
I think in some ways we all did. You can contact the show in lots of different ways, guys. You can also give us a ring nowadays. Staggering, I know. We won't answer the phone. That's all done automatically. We're busy doing a show. But if you'd like to wish Tom good luck, or simply record a boo, 0906 200 7080 is the way to do it. The choice is yours.
Either way, we get £1.
Exactly. Hey, it's your dollar. Now, we are playing a competition on the show these days, which is not just any old competition, not one of those ones on ITV where they say, what comes next, A, B, and then you have to guess, and like the first answer would be Mallorca, and the second answer would be hat, and the third answer would be sea.
Right.
Too complicated. What I'm saying is their competitions are really easy and involve no skill.
Sorry, what were the choices again?
Should we just look at the competition?
All right.
I feel I've dug myself into a metaphorical mess.
Okay, or a hole, possibly.
A hole. What I'm saying is our competitions involve skill, and their competitions involve things that a monkey could achieve.
Mm-hmm.
Don't look at me like I'm rubbish. I've got 3 hours. I've got 3 hours to turn it round. What's in the hole, guys? It's like Spot the Ball, but with holes. Frankie Doodle Dandy sitting in the small blind. Start of a bad nursery rhyme. We can't see his cards. What are they? You use your poker reading skills to determine his holding. Couldn't be easier. Although I think this one's a bit tricky.
Well, I've got some decided thoughts about it, Nick, that I'm going to reveal when all the answers are in.
Okay.
But I would point out that both the last two what's in the hole questions have been small blind hole cards. So I wonder if there's something about the small blind that makes it particularly good for what's in the hole questions. I wonder what that might be, but I think it will come to me eventually if I watch enough of them.
I'm doing quite a small sample size, so
yeah, that's true.
Could just be random. So Frankie Doodle Dandy bets on the river with that very scary looking board. The other two guys fold, and we want to know, what is he holding? Does he have the full house? Which full house is it? A straight, a bluff, what is it? Text the word hole, your name, your answer, all to the usual number, 62211. And in addition to that, as ever, we're taking whatever questions you have, queries, poker anecdotes, stories, good luck messages for Tom.
Booze.
Booze for Tom.
Save those for the chat box, maybe.
Yes, lively chat box always when one of us is playing. 62211, still the number for text with your questions, and poker@pokernightlive.co.uk is your email. We're going to drop in on our multi-table tournament. Let's see how the multi-tabling boys are getting on. 102 players left, so more than half the field has gone. Started off with 244 runners. That's carnage.
Look, we've got the Italian Premier has just gone all in. How extraordinary that the viewers we have on this show.
Taking a much-needed break from implementing modern fascism.
All political, bit controversial. I don't think we go out in Italy, do we?
Not anymore.
Most of his shows have women with bare breasts on. So we're not particularly popular there.
And you can't get them no matter how much you try to realign your dish. Silvio Berlusconi's chip leader, we're told.
Almost certainly there's corruption involved.
Oh. Still, he's brought stability where there was none. There's something to be said for that, isn't there?
Mm-hmm. Anyway, enough politics, eh? let's get on with crude jokes. No, those come later, folks.
Don't panic, there'll be some poker along in a minute.
King 9.
Still reasonably early in our multi-table tournament, though. You wouldn't know it from the amount of players that have taken their leave of things.
That's right. I wonder what happened.
I think your theory is gaining ground by the moment. People come in, try and make some chips early to get on the TV table at the end, and they either succeed or they leave.
Mm-hmm. So great value tournament.
Yeah.
I wonder if Alpigue is still in the competition. Oh, was that an inadvertent cue to be taken there in the Matrix? Wonder what else we could get if we asked for it. There he is.
Some of those Italian TV shows, maybe we can make those come on. Pop them in the middle of that table, you got yourself a ratings winner, I tell you.
That's what Silvio Berlusconi would do. What a great idea. Yanul makes his move, King-Queen suited against the big blind. Bit of a no-brainer, really. Almost certainly in good shape. And pocket 9s, pocket 6s. Extraordinary commentary. And how's it going to play out? He said agnostically.
Good.
In lieu of any sorts of analysis. Well, I mean, the 9s are ahead, aren't they? I think we both agree, Nick.
They're ahead, but position wins out.
Nicely put, sir.
No way for Radiator to know he had the best hand there, and nice strong bet from Trevor after the check. I think that's possibly the number one thing that watching Poker Night Live has reaffirmed in my poker game, that 90% of checks, maybe even higher, mean what they say. They are weakness, in fact. Because I think when you start to play a lot of poker at a decent level, because you do occasionally get trapped, and you occasionally come up against tricky plays, you can start to see them where they're not, in fact. But as we see on the show, most of the time when players check, they're checking because they don't have anything. This is a big hand. Will Kinsor get out of this with any chips?
It's going to be difficult.
I'll get out with it too. Oh, he just calls.
Wow, how did you do that?
That's either that's one of those genius or madness plays. You decide.
Perhaps that should be our new competition.
Yeah. I'm either staggered or impressed, because I don't know how he can know he's behind there.
I mean, I didn't see the hand develop. Maybe he's aware of how strong he's looked hitherto on the hand, and just feels that someone would check call with literally anything that was not better than ace king.
Yeah. Well, it's a very solid call, no question.
Well done, Kinsor. Bit of a straight versus two pair situation here. In the blinds, exactly where you expect to find it. And again, Trevor gets away from it without doing too many chips. Ace king suited now in the small blind. How much? 225 in the pots.
Minimum raise. Well, took a bit of a chance with the minimum raise because the big blind's always going to call when you do that. Or should always call, I believe.
Yeah, he's Mr. Tricky, I think, because he's in a position to pretend he's representing the king.
Yeah.
And he can put in a bet there and get action for someone with a 9 or a 2 and probably a raise from someone with a king. I mean, of course, we could see that he wasn't going to get anything more. Kinzor had missed, but it seemed a bit excessive. Maybe he's seen Kinzor call those big bets out of spite or something.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's overplaying. But... Well, crumbs might beat Kinzor to the steel here. Let's find out.
Ooh.
Which is bizarre, in my opinion. But there we are. Perhaps bizarre is a harsh word to use in any poker situation.
And blindingly stupid.
Ah.
Yeah, he's put in 5% of his stat there, which is... He's got a lot of work to recover that on the implied odds front. If he's putting in 1% of his stack, I still prefer a raise because I want to take the blinds, but...
Yeah, I think we had some emails a couple of shows ago. I think Chris Ferguson's written a deliberately controversial email.
To us? He's still pestering us.
He wants to get on the show. Saying, no former world champions.
We can phone in and plead through that medium.
No former world champions that got lucky on the river.
Oh, controversial tonight.
No, he's a great player. But I think he's written a deliberately controversial article saying that you should always raise, you should never limp in tournaments.
Oh, I read that,
which
yes.
maybe we could discuss after the break.
Well, I'm going to be busy.
Oh, yes you are.
Yes.
Tom is going to be playing in our Beat the Presenter segment after the break. We'd still like you to get in touch, guys. poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Text number is 62211. Send in your cheers, send in your boos for Dr. Tom, who is now going to use the next few minutes to get in that very special zone. He started already, look. Welcome back to Thursday's Poker Night Live. I still know what day it is, which is a triumph. So far we've done Buddhism, modern fascism, and what's in the hole.
Did we do quantum physics?
Not yet, but we will.
Okay, good.
We will. That's teed up for later on. Guys, we've got the multi-table tournament running in the background. I start off with 244 players, so that's a good one. We're going to have the final table of that. Tom, very soon, is going to be playing online, aren't you?
It's true. Just looking for a table to open up. Not saying which one.
It's not the 25.50 cash, though, is it? As a little hint.
Nope.
More's the pity. I'll be honest with you, boys and girls. We're a little bit slow on the text and emails today. Now, there's bad and good news there. The bad news is that it upsets me, it upsets Tom. We get little tears. The good news is that your chances of having your text and email read out are greatly enhanced if you get one into us. We do want you to get in touch, guys. You can ask us anything you like, whether you're a beginner and this is the first time you've watched, or whether you've been with us for months, nay, even a year, because our first birthday is approaching. We're happy to report. Text us on 62211. We do want to hear from you, however you choose to do it. You can also email poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. And you can now phone the studio, 0906 200 7080 on screen for you there, and leave either your messages of support or denigration for Tom.
Or Nick.
Or me, yeah, just generally. All your questions about poker, about the show, about your lives, and how to move them forward, incorporating Buddhist concepts to your work and play.
Okay, we're an agony aunt service now. Whatever keeps punters happy.
It's all good, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can interact with us live tonight, guys, and you've got 3 hours left to do it, so plenty of time. We're going to take another look at our competition. What's in the hole? This is your last chance to enter, because we will be revealing the answer to this one at the top of the hour, at midnight. And then there will be a brand new one for you. The idea here is that you use your poker reading skills to determine what cards Frankie Doodle Dandy is holding there in the small blind, based on his actions in the hand. Don't have to know the exact cards involved. His holding's enough. So if you think he's got a full house, on this particular hand, we'd like to know which full house. If you think he's got, I think, a straight is possible at the end of this hand. If you think he's bluffing, whatever you think. Have a guess. Have an educated guess. Play along at home with our What's in the Hole board game. No, that doesn't exist. But it will, I reckon, by this Christmas.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Will there be a picture of us on the front?
Oh, I hope so.
Sort of artist's impression of me and you in the studio.
Perhaps with a Dolly Dealer type lady behind that we can both try and romance over coffee in between takes.
It's a great concept, Nick. It's a great concept.
It's already fully formed in my mind.
Yeah.
Perhaps wrongly.
Yeah. Great. Well, last year it was chipsets were the number one game or game type accessory sold at Christmas, outselling all other board games, all board games put together. Maybe next year it will be the What's in the Hole board game.
Maybe it will. Get your answers in, guys. You've got an hour left. Text HOLE, your name and your answer to 62211. And if you do that, you will enter our leaderboard if you're right, and you get some points. A point, presumably.
I guess.
A gold star. Let's make it gold stars, please. And then at the end of every month, we will tell you who the best readers of cards are among the Poker Night Live audience. So a real chance to big yourselves up in the poker community. Multi-table tournament update for you now. Let's see how that's progressing. Is that true about chipsets?
It was the number one game sold, outselling all
More than
board
all
games.
board games?
Yeah, Monopoly,
Wow.
Diplomacy, that sort of thing.
This
Risk.
poker thing seems terribly popular.
It's huge. I tell you what, if we'd been flogging those ones that you saw everywhere, like in places like Robert Dyer's, bizarre places that wouldn't normally sell poker chips, we'd be millionaires, Nick.
Right. We would have to have made a lot of chipsets or something, though.
Well, we'd have had them made somewhere, in a sweatshop somewhere, probably, like everyone else.
Hmm. Well, it's a plan, isn't it, that we
That we missed out on.
missed out on.
Oh, well.
Well, maybe they'll sell even more this Christmas. For What's in the Hole doesn't take
No,
over.
we've missed it.
Our chip leader, him with the year-round suntan and the slightly right-wing policies. Silvio is in seat 2. And he's behind in this hand against Greven's aces and queens. We've got just 61 players left in this tournament, spread over 8 tables out of an initial field of 244, and they're all gunning for a $723 first prize, as well as some time on the TV at the final table. And when you bear in mind that that was for a $10 buy-in, then it is a prize well worth winning. 150, 300 of the blind, so you'd want at least 3,000 chips to not be panicking.
Big dwell up from the 10-5 there. Brain Eater, curiously named. Very curiously named. Maybe it's a death metal album I'm not aware of.
Brain Eater.
Hmm.
I like those death metal bands that call themselves things like Brain Eater and actually still live with their mum in Hull. And they're actually really nice boys and
Yep.
classically trained pianists and things like that.
And we'll probably buy What's in the Hole, the board game.
As will the rest of the nation come this December.
Mm.
Thing is, it's not really our property, is it? So we won't see a penny.
No, sadly, we'll just be once again ripped off by the machine that is corporate evil.
You're still waiting to get in a game, Tom.
I can't get on a game. I'm seriously considering sitting down in a heads up.
Well, that's a good fail-safe, isn't it?
Mm. Difficult with heads up, though, isn't it? It's difficult to explain what you're thinking. You just get a hunch.
Yeah, that's true.
If you play poker for too long, you do get a hunch, actually. You'll see that if you sit down in the card room.
All in for Blazing. Curious move, really, because he had over 3,000 chips. It's the kind of move I hate in tournament poker, but players make it a lot. He's only going to be called there if he's in terrible trouble.
Yep, very true.
Queens for Bone, a more normal raise and a very disciplined fold with a pair of 9s from Brain Eater. Didn't want anything to do with it once that raise had come in.
He is a nice boy. He lives with his mum, isn't he, in Hull, I think.
Knows a little bit about poker in his spare time.
Yeah. Ace-3 left to fight it out with Queen-Jack. And position rules the day. And there are those 9s again.
Well, that's a curious play, isn't it? Making up with the 9s, because let's say Silvio's sitting there with 10-2 offsuit. He's just giving him a chance to outdraw him, isn't he?
Maybe he's worried about Berlusconi's play, and he's just playing it for implied odds. He's getting 3-1. If Berlusconi raises him before the flop, he can come over the top. Perhaps he just doesn't want to put chips in the middle against a player who's going to make a play at him and risk being outplayed on the flop. He knows he's probably not going to hit. Maybe that's his logic, Nick. What do you think?
As ever, you found a rationalisation for the action?
I'm thinking ahead. Trying to find implausible rationalisations.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Well, he called Berlusconi's raise, so he clearly has seen enough of Silvio not to be a believer. If only the Italian people could fall into line with that concept. Not yet, though. And there's no stopping Silvio, is there?
No.
Very, very strong play.
Well, there is the play. I think maybe Grevin feared. Interesting.
Only one way to deal with a bully?
A bully?
Only one way to deal with a bully. Punch him on the nose, surely. Only language they understand. We've got a pair of 8s for roll 800. How does he want to play these? He's just going to limp. I think you're allowed to muck those if you want. The 8s do stand up, which is always nice. So we're getting towards the serious end of this tournament. Bit of blind play potentially, unless Silvio wants to make a steal. As ever, guys, we're looking for your texts and emails this Thursday night. Nick and Tom taking you through till 2 o'clock in the morning on Poker Night Live. And we'd love for you to get in touch with whatever you'd like to talk about. We will talk about whatever you want to talk about. Questions about poker, how you play, how to get the best out of your game, whatever you like. It's all good on Poker Night Live, and it can be easy to get in touch. 62211 is the text number. poker@pokernightlive.co.uk is the email. And this is our multi-table tournament. We started off with 244 runners and is now down to less than 60 competitors as they all go for a $739 first prize. $723 first prize. I'm numbers dyslexic. And for a $10 buy-in, that's a quite extraordinary return. So the blind's at 150-300, and you'd be looking for, well, at least 10 times the big blind, 3,000 chips, but preferably a little bit more than that to be completely comfortable. move and gets called by MLD, and then MLD gets lucky. And I'm afraid Brain Eater is going back to Hull to work on his guitar riffs. Very unfortunately, as it happens. He did have the best hand, but MLD found a way round it. A small raise from Blazing, and the nut flopper plays back at him. Strong move, but he won't like to see the nines, and he'll need an ace or another 7, unless the ace, goodness me. Well, a couple of outdraws in the last couple of hands. That's the nature of the beast, I'm afraid. All you can do is get your money in with the best of it, and then hope things fall your way. Big raise with a pair of queens in the small blind. Potential for a bit more deception, but he didn't want to exercise it. And he'll just take down the big blind. You could argue that's a missed opportunity. You could argue at least he didn't get them cracked and go broke. Snake Neck takes the seat that was held by Brain Eater. It's just like a parade of thrash metal potential names. Is this scripted? Well, he's not going to like that flop, but then again, when you're playing a pair of threes, you're not going to like a lot of flops, I would suggest. Silvio builds that chip stack remorselessly. And then gets dealt kings. When it's going for you, it would seem. Been a long time since it's been going for me, Tom, I can tell you.
Oh dear, I'm disappointed to hear that, and surprised too, Nick.
Online, actually. Live I've been doing all right, but I don't play live very often. But online I've been having a terrible run.
Play more live.
If only I had the time. Kings for Silvio, how does he want to play them? Bit of deception, just a little raise, trying to entice Bone in, but Bone will have none of it. We've got a whole heap of mess here, apart from Greverin's ace-jack.
I'm in.
You're in?
I'm in, I'm well in there.
The doctor is in, literally.
Well, it's not me, it's Kara, of course. I'm just sizing up the opposition. I've got Gan 241. And thank you, Mordam. Yep, got my space. Mordam. Trying to remember what I know about these players. Can't remember anything about Mordam.
You're trying to remember what you know about Hold'em. Because it all gone, it's all gone.
Well, no, it all goes.
It'll come back. Be in the moment, remember.
Mataxa, doesn't Mataxa play the high stakes games?
Not tonight, Tom.
Well, it's bragging rights tonight, isn't it?
It's bragging rights.
Yeah.
What bigger scalp could there be than former European champion?
Greg Ramos is quite big in every sense. You know, and a more recent World Series anyway.
But a less good player, I'd venture. That's just my
Well,
opinion.
we'll see about that, Nick. We certainly will. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to leave you to the commentator.
No, feel free. You need to zone in, bear down. Dr. Tom is playing 7 of you lucky punters right now online.
And we're off. We're off. I'm in the big blind, Nick. I can't say what I've got. What have I got? Can you see it on my face?
Can you read Tom like an open book?
Kev Steele says, Nick Tom's blinds, guys, he's a chicken. Yeah, well Kev
that's
Steele
not
didn't
positive.
even sit down, so who's he to call me a chicken?
Good point. They will let you have your big blind for nothing.
They gave me a walk.
First hand, you've given Tom a walk. What's that all about?
Created
Come
a
on.
monster, boys.
You're supposed to be trying to take him down. He's the chip leader, if only for a hand. If you're not quite sure what's going on, by the way, at home, Tom is currently playing in a tournament online, a single table tournament, against 7 viewers and probably countless more watching in the gallery. What we will do is replay the tournament. We'll see all of the cards from about 12 o'clock, and we'll analyse exactly what Tom and why did it. Exactly what Tom and why did it. Beautiful. Semantics. Exactly what Tom did and why he did it, and basically it's your opportunity not only to be involved in the game, but more importantly to see how a pro plays and how a pro thinks and how a pro rationalises his massive blunders. All of those good things. Despite the fact that that's going on, we are still open for your texts and emails, 62211, email poker@PokerNightLive, whatever your level of play, whatever you want to ask, we want to hear from you. While Tom's playing in that, I'm going to talk you through a $50 sit and go.
I'm going to be listening for advice, Nick. If you could just keep it relevant to the lower stakes.
Okay. If you hear me commentating on a hand that isn't actually what you're seeing, you'll know what's happened.
That's my tell.
Let's go to our $50 game. And some favourites in this game. Some old friends. Johan Harren is there. Jack Alley, who's been playing recently. Making Jam, a newer member of the Poker Night Live community, but plays quite often nowadays. Cincinnati Kid, we've seen play a lot. And of course, L Pig, star of the multi-table tournament. Last time I was on, I believe, winner of the multi-table tournament. Sad to report, I've been told he went out in 57th tonight. But that's better than 244th, which he could have gone out in. And you can't win it every night, unfortunately. I'm sure you all know the drill by now, but just in case you don't, this is a one-table tournament. The blinds are at $10 and $20, the forced bets that make poker hands worth playing, and they're going to escalate every 10 hands. They're going to double, and that's going to force the action. It means that this is a fast and furious tournament, which will be all done in about 30 minutes, something like that, maybe slightly more, depending on how the guys play. It's a $50 buy-in, so a serious level of play, and some of these players we know to be very strong players, and they're competing for a $400 prize pool. So first place is going to walk away with $200, which is $150 of profit, enough to have all manner of fun, I'd suggest. Enough for a chip set, which I'm told is a very hot selling item. I'm told that we've got upwards of 100 players watching you online, Tom.
Wow, I'm humbled.
Humbled and probably a little excited.
I'm in a pot right now. I've been raised. I've been bet at. Every time I say I'm in a pot, they put the cameras on me to see if they can pick up any tells.
Well, I don't think you're going to be picking up any tells from a pro like Tom.
I'm out of there, baby. Go back to the game.
Overpair for Cincinnati Kid, and he's raised a bit. I'm surprised he hasn't raised more. That's an opportunity to put in a bigger bet. Well, actually, there's a necessity to put in a bigger bet, because if he gets called there, as he's priced it to do, there are so many cards that can arrive on the turn that scare your nines, and that's actually an underbet, I believe. Of course, there's the flush draw out there, but more than that, any card bigger than a 9, and you don't know whether you're ahead or behind. So I think Cincinnati Kid's bet too little. Nat Pans has got the aces, made the little raise, encouraged Linus and Johan Harren in, and he'll like that flop. He's got the ace of flush, as I like to call it. And I'm quite surprised Johan Harren didn't check raise there with top pair. I mean, Johan isn't holding a spade, so he doesn't really want to let spades draw at him for not very much. And Nat Pans could be holding anything on the button. And now the spade comes. Johan occasionally emails in. I wonder what you're thinking there, mate. I would have thought the check raise on the flop would be the better way to go. Nat Pans has the nuts. And poker life is pretty easy when you have the nuts. Or easier, anyway. And that makes him one of our big stacks. Him and Cincinnati Kid are enjoying a chip advantage early on. In this $50. And double the blind seems to be the way to go. Johan Harren hits his set, he'll be delighted about that, but can he get any play? Somebody's going to have to want to make a move at the pot because they don't have a legitimate reason.
Do you know Lindsay's phone number, Nick?
Yes, I do, and I wish you'd stop calling my house. It's getting embarrassing.
Well, if you want to make a bit of money, then just give it out to this chat box.
Yeah, I don't want to be kicked to death by Lindsay, to be honest. How much money?
Well, folks, start bidding.
Yeah, do start bidding, because that's something to bear in mind, isn't it? Double your presenter's fee. Well, Johan Harron's raised, and that's going to be all she wrote for this one, because Loonbass doesn't have anything to play with. And if we were playing low ball, this would be quite a deal, but it isn't, so Loonbass gets a freebie. Tom, it's not supposed to be fun. Do you understand that? See, back in the zone immediately. He had his feet up before we came into vision. Had a pipe. He's taking it very easy. Early stages of sit and go. The last thing you want to do is get involved, right, Tom?
Hush, I'm in a pot.
I should probably leave you alone, because I haven't played in that seat yet, and I'm storing up all kinds of whatever the opposite of favours is. Top pair for Cincinnati Kids.
Could be joining you in the commentary in a minute, Nick.
Oh, yeah? Oh, the tension of the unseen drama.
It's a three-way pot, and I'm all in. Oh, no. I'm out.
Say it isn't so, Tom.
It's so. Oh, that's evil. Unlucky, Dr. Tom says, Gan. Good game, mate.
Did you beat Kara?
I came 7th, so I'm equal with Kara. But it's all right, it's her account anyway. I can't believe how fast it went, Nick. I thought it would last much longer than that.
Do you want another go?
I
Seriously,
don't know if I ought to.
play your joker. Have another go.
Okay, let's have another go. Well, I have to wait for this game to play out.
Maybe another
I'll
table.
be interested to see what you think of this one, Nick. I think I'm blameless,
Oh, yes?
but we shall see. Let's
They
see
always-
what
they
they're
always
saying
think
in
they're
the
blameless.
chat box.
They're saying, Tom, you fool.
Gan has said, I will win for you, Dr. Tom. That's very sweet.
I think you should get another game, Tom. And we'll look at that one and the next one.
And Lothian says there's a $2 starting, which is very nice of him to
When
say
you're
so.
having a bad trot, dropping down in limits is never a bad idea. I think we
Okay.
can all...
I think I'm out of my class at the $5. Let's go and have a look at the $2.
Tom is still playing online, guys. Don't give up on him. He'll produce moments of quality yet,
Here we go.
I'm sure. Ace King versus Jacks.
Oh no, it's been taken. Too late.
Ace King versus Jacks, and a classic matchup. The Jacks obviously have a slight edge. Now that flop's come down, they have a big edge. Only an ace or a king on the river, and doesn't happen for making jam. Unfortunate for him. I always think if you go out with ace king on the first level of a sit and go, you have made a little mistake. It's an understandable mistake.
What?
You disagree?
I just heard that out the back of my head. Go on then.
If you go out with ace king pre-flop, I'm talking about,
What about 4-3?
anyone that goes on the first level of sit and go is pretty thick. It's not true. It's not true. It's not true. I'm joking. I'm joking. I've gone out many times on the bubble. No, I've gone out many times on the first level. Of course I have.
I can't get a table, Nick. I think that might be
Are you
me
done?
for tonight. Well, unless I can get a table, but they're all just starting off now. I've only got some tables at level 2.
Is that not one?
No, I can't blow 30 of Kara's money. It's all reserved.
The confidence has gone like that. It's
Well,
evaporated.
it's not my money, is it? If it was my money, that'd be all right. Anyway, it seems to be taken.
Well, we'll see if we can get even another game, I'm sure. Let's go back to our $50 meanwhile. Johan Harron with the big move, and he's not going to like this because he's run into aces. And look at that for a get out of jail free. That's extraordinary. The only way he could have got out of that hand, I believe. And if Johan Harron goes on to score in this one table, he'll look back on that as the decisive moment. A runner flush on the board, getting him out of a horrible, horrible spot. And I was on the reverse end of one of those recently.
Horrible spot.
No, it's just something like that. I'm not mentioning it as a bad beat because I don't like bad beat stories. When we have good and bad beats, I can equally tell you a good one. But I mention it more as a subject of fascination. I had a hand where I believe I had a set, and I believe the other guy had top pair, and I was all in, he was almost all in, and he got out of it with a straight flush being dealt on the board.
Oh no. I think you're owed one.
Well, I'm sure I've had it. It all breaks even in the end. It's just interesting. I've never seen that. Straight flush on the board for a split pot. But it happened. And Johan Harren was the beneficiary there of a nut flush being dealt on the board and a split pot. Like I say, it's all just idle fascination, because all of the breaks come even in the end in this game. Which is why I'll brook no talk of luck and bad beats and such things. You're not by any chance in another game, are you, Tom?
I am, Nick, yeah.
Look at this, set over set. Linus is going to be incredibly unlucky. He's going to be hoping for the 4th 8 or a straight on the board. A 6 would get him out. Doesn't happen. Very unfortunate. Nothing you can do. Even the best poker player in the world would probably go broke there. In a one-table tournament. You can get away from them in perhaps a big multi-table where there's a lot more play. It's not impossible to get away from set over set, but obviously it's a horrible spot. And Cincinnati Kid's the beneficiary as we go down to 5 players. And a beautiful flop for Nap Hands with 3 7s. My concern now is that I'm not going to get you off the games back into the show, am I?
Well,
somebody's told you can play poker on the show.
I know, it's fantastic. It's great. We're off. We've started.
In another one.
We've got Johan Harren, Tough Cookie, who's opposite me, and Charwell, who I saw on the multi-table the other day.
Yeah, Charwell's been playing some of our games recently. Good stuff.
Got any reads on him?
No. I'll write them down.
Okay.
No reads. No reads. So Tom's in another game if you're online and you want to take a look at that. If not, or both simultaneously, we're still covering our $50 game. Let's get back to it, getting close to the business end now. And still taking your texts and emails. 62211 on the text, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. On the emails, sorry Tom?
Johan Harren has offered his own read on Charwell.
Has he? That's terribly unsporting of him, seeing as how he's in the same tournament. Are people giving you booze or cheers in the chat box, Tom? Or is it breaking even?
It seems to be breaking even fairly. I'm getting some observations on my play a minute ago.
Well, Johan Harren might be thinking about a steal here, but he doesn't do it. No point with the blinds this small against the big chip stack, I don't think. Jack Alley's going to try and have it away with his Jack 10. And if he follows through with another bet here, he'll probably be lucky. No, he doesn't. And that's curious, really, because Queen 6-3 is a good flop for a continuation bet, because unless your opponent has got a queen, he's going to find it very difficult to call. As it is, they've checked to this point, and Jack Alley contemplating trying to steal it, but he doesn't. And this has been another fast one table to this point. I think it might slow down now, so we've got some solid players left in the running, but we lost 3 players very early, we're only in the second level. Now, how does Jack Alley want to play this big hand on the button? Personally, I think you should put in a standard raise, and he has, and hope that one of the blinds has got half a hand and thinks you're stealing. I think if you limp and the blinds know even a little bit about the game, it's going to look suspicious. And the queens have moved around with the button. Some sort of magnetic device that attracts the ladies on the button. I'll have some of whatever that is, please. And once again, raise on the button and no customers. Well, I always think if the small blind makes up, you can usually raise in the big blind, because 80+% of the time it's weakness. That was the case that time. Johan Harren obviously agrees with that line of thinking. And takes the made-up blind away from Nap Hands. Interesting tournament, this one, because we're down to a short-handed situation, short-handed-ish, 5 players, with the blinds very low, which we don't always see. And there's an opportunity for players to be more aggressive.
Someone's pointed out in the chat box that, well, both me and Kara came 7th. I came joint 7th, and Kara came outright 7th.
Ah.
So, slightly ahead there.
Yeah. I wonder whose was more excusable. That's all I want to know.
Well, we'll have a look at it, Nick.
There's the pre-flop folds. So I was talking about whether players want to be more aggressive or not. Well, you can see that LPig's playing very tightly. Maybe even a bit too tightly. He's involved in a hand now, though. And good flop for a pair of... oh, no, he doesn't have anything. Sorry, I was looking at it in small O vision, and I saw it was a pair of jacks, but it isn't at all. It's a outrageous bluff on the flop. Good strong play by LPig. It's got to that point where he needed to make something happen for himself, and that was a pretty good way to do it. Kudos to the pig. And, oh dear, the end of Jackalee, I suspect, unless Cincinnati Kid smooth calls this raise, and then something comes on the flop to scare Jack Alley. Now, Jack Alley won't know this, but he's actually praying for a king or an ace on the flop. He's praying for something that will get him out of it. He'll actually be hoping for the reverse. He'll be hoping for small cards. But that will spell his doom. Yep, that flop's going to get him into trouble, I would suspect. He'll do well to get away from this. How does Cincinnati Kid want to play it? I don't think I want to mess about too much. 2 hearts out there. And he puts in the raise, and Jack Alley may well go all in here. Very hard to get away from, yeah. Well, he's picked up a flush draw to get out of it. Well, unfortunately not. Unfortunate situation. I believe the situation that our co-commentator Kara went out in last night. Queens with aces behind you. It's not going to happen very often. When it does happen, particularly on these one tables, it's probably not going to be your day. Cincinnati Kid building a big chip lead. LPig should get this one for free. You've responded to my email plea, guys. You've done yourselves proud. And we're going to be taking some of them before we go to the break. And I will have the difficult task during the break of stopping Tom playing poker and reminding him of his contractual obligations to present the show. He's still in this time.
Yeah, I've gone card dead.
He's gone card dead. The lament of the poker player. Have you beaten 7th yet, or
No, still 8 of us in.
still 8 of you in? So the potential for disaster looms.
Do you think it's more likely that presenters will end up in multi-way pots?
Well, I would imagine that people will try and take you down. I'd imagine people are more likely to call our bets, aren't they?
So I should be more likely to play, or more disposed to play with hands that do well in multi-way pots.
I'd have thought so.
Okay,
Strategy,
7-8 suited.
strategy
Here we come.
live. I think when Casper won his tournament.
Oh yeah, yeah, go on.
Well, I think he doubled through on the first level.
Did he?
And so I think that he negated that. But we don't know enough, guys. As you'll know, this is only the 4th time we've done it, so we don't know how you're going to play against us. This is the interesting thing. But I would assume that people would like to take you out of the tournament.
Well, happily here, someone's gone.
So 7th is guaranteed. Once again. Can we improve? Go on, the presenter. That's what I say. Cincinnati Kid has got a huge amount of chips for this stage of the tournament. But as we saw with, was it Johan Harren? Memory is going. One of our regular players in the previous sit and go. That doesn't guarantee victory by any means. It does get fast and furious at the end of these one-table tournaments. Hope you're enjoying the show tonight. You are watching Poker Night Live, in case you're in any doubt. with Nick and Tom. We're with you till 2 o'clock, showing you online poker with all real players, all playing for cash on the internet. And we can see all of their cards. If it's the first time you're watching the show, there's a delay on the game, which is how we're able to do that, with it all still being on the straight and narrow. And if you're wondering why I'm commentating solo, it's because Tom is involved in the game on that line right now against some of you viewers, with others of you watching in the background. And when he's finished the game, in the next segment of the show, we'll replay both his efforts and give you some analysis on them. And we really hope that's going to help your game, guys. That's why we've introduced this feature. Apart from the fun of the item, we also want it to give you an extra level of insight into the game, extra level of analysis. Obviously, we do our best to analyse the games as they go on, but it does all happen quite quickly, and also doesn't have that subjective element of one of us actually having been in the game. We're watching a $50 tournament. The first 3 players walk away with prizes, so by a simple process of deduction, we can tell that the next person out will be going home with nothing. And that next person out is going to be Johan Aaron. He made a move there with Queen 7 into the big chip stack, which was bold. Whether it was right or not on the bubble, I don't know. Certainly as it turned out, it went wrong for him, but that's not an argument here or there. I'm just not so sure about making the move against Cincinnati Kid, who could call that bet so easily. Don't know, I wonder what his logic was. poker@pokernightlive.co.uk if you want to comment on that hand, or Johan if you want to comment. L Pig is now all in. That hand is almost all in, so we're going to be heads up or good as after this hand, unless they split, but they don't, because L Pig makes 3 6s. And Nap Hands is all in for the blind. Could we see a historic comeback from 50 chips? I think that would set the record on the show. Well, Cincinnati Kid wants to bet into the dry pot, and that won't win him any favours with L Pig, because L Pig has just folded a winner. I think he had Jack 10 there. Nap Hands up to 150. I want to see an amazing comeback. What great TV. Well, he's got the best hand here as well, so it's not impossible, guys. TV history. Live. Still got just about the best hand. Lots of ways it could be taken away from him, and it's split, unfortunately. But he's still increased his chip stack, 225. Enough for the big blind. And he's been dealt the best hand again. And he's going to get value for it. Oh, but unfortunately he's been outflopped this time. He'll need the ace to hit. Also a jack now would get him out. Ace or a jack. And the potential greatest comeback in Poker Night Live history goes down in flames. Shot down by L Pig. Struck down by Bacon. Nobody wants that. Apparently that's what happened to Dr. Atkins. I always thought the funniest way for Dr. Atkins to die would have been if he'd slipped on a big piece of streaky bacon as he was cooking it. Don't think that did happen, but I don't think I should be musing on funny ways for people to die. Cincinnati Kid has won. It was all over very quickly. And to be fair, he absolutely dominated the tournament for the entirety of the second half. Terminator through it. Congratulations to Cincinnati Kid. Walks away with $200. How's it going, Tom? You're in a pot. I should probably not disturb you.
Mm-hmm.
We've got plenty of your emails, guys, which we're going to do in a little bit. First of all, we're going to recap you on...
Sorry, I look forward to talking about this hand.
Yes. You can share with the group later. Tom's having fun, and that's what counts, isn't it? Let's have a look at our competition. What's in the hole? Last chance to dance, guys. We're going to reveal the answer in about 10 minutes. Text only on this one, if you want to enter. Let's have a look at it.
I've won my first pot.
You've won a pot. You broke your cherry. Fantastic. Oh, we're proud of you. We're asking you guys to tell us what Frankie Doodle Dandy has got in his hole. What are those two cards? Currently covered up by question marks. It's a chance to use your card reading skills, as you'd have to in a real game, of course. Based on his actions, he calls a pre-flop raise, and the flop comes down king 9-9. And as the hand develops, the board looks very strong. Kings and nines. Surprisingly, the tens don't bet. And the board gets even stronger. There's a straight possible. Jack 10 would be a straight. Is that what he's got? Does he have a full house? Any king or a nine? I think, as Tom said, we need to say which full house, kings or nines. Or does he have, I don't know, kings and queens for a full house? Or is he making an elaborate bluff? We'd like you to make your educated guess. Easy to do, just text hole, your name, and your answer to 62211. You don't have to tell us exactly which cards he has, but you need to have a stab at his holding. Okay, thank you for your emails as ever, guys. We're going to take just take one now and leave the bulk of them to after the break, where Tom and I can discuss them. But Birdster's emailed in with an entertaining one. He says, or she says, Birdster might be a girl by use of initiative, or is it? Howdy lads, I bought my dad a poker set for Christmas. One of the many, so we're told. Now almost 2 months on, I've won nearly £2,000 off him. Quite funny. I feel really guilty because the set was only £18 off eBay. Should I take his money and invest online and step up my stakes, or give him back his money? Are you serious? And take away the set, or try and subtly lose it back? My worry is letting him win it back will give him a false sense of winning, and then he could end up losing more. What should I do? I really need your help. Well, I don't know. It depends. What's the disposition of his estate currently? Because in many ways that's just a down payment, isn't it? You could put it to him like that. Depends how much you like him, I guess. I think if anyone puts down their money at a poker table, then it's there to be claimed, isn't it? And if he has really lost that much money to you, then I don't think you should be feeling guilty. Maybe lose a little bit of it back, I don't know, because he could just amend the will, couldn't he, and get over it that way. Very entertaining email. We want more like that. poker@pokernightlive.co.uk is how you do it. We're going to have a little look at the game, I think, after we've checked in with the good doctor. Still alive?
Yeah, I'm still alive. Yeah.
Yeah? You've made some chips.
I have.
You crazy kid. Look at him, he's got his game face on now. It was fun a minute ago. Now he's in it to win it. Good stuff.
It's never fun.
We're going to take a look at a cash game for a couple of minutes, allowing you to get your what's in the hole guesses in before we reveal the answer after the break. Ace King versus Ace 7. Buffy Be Good is going to raise. It's a 25-cent, 50-cent cash game. The players can put down up to $50 on the table. And in contrast to the tournaments with which we've been, I'll be able to talk in a minute, and the show will be worth watching. In contrast to the tournaments we've been watching all night, those blinds will remain the same potentially forever. 25 cents and 50 cents, and that dictates the level of the game. So as I said, $50 maximum buy-in. So the three players on the left of the table, clearly the legs are shorter on the left because all the chips are sliding that way, have at least doubled their initial buy-in. And are potentially having good nights. Of course, they could be losing it on a bigger stakes table somewhere else. Let's have a look at how these players, just in just a minute, we'll look at how the players have been playing in this tournament. Tournament cash game. Sevens to pylon bill. And only a double the blind raise, so Lazarus Long could call this. Although, even though he's getting odds, the problem with calling with bad aces is pylon bill could have a better ace, of course, and it's very difficult to know if he has or not. Here's how these players have been playing. Some of them, anyway. Some players haven't been on long enough to record stats, but you can see that Matt, Ace, King, Queen, Jack 10, is by far the most aggressive. Well, not by far. He's been playing 24% of hands, which is quite a lot. V3 Ranger also up there on about 24% of hands being played. We'll see how this develops throughout the night. Pair of sevens for TC. Top Cat, I always hope that stands for. Do you remember Top Cat? It was rubbish, but the initial song was genius. But then what you should have done is turned it off. I would sing it for you, but A, you'd all mute, and B, we'd have to pay a royalty. So I hope enough of you are sharing the memory of that peppy song. It's probably just somebody called Tony Clarkson, isn't it? Let's face facts. A couple of bad aces in the blinds, but maybe the sevens will raise up before we even get there. Judging by the stats we just saw, Matt likes to play, so wouldn't be surprised to see a raise. He does raise, and neither of these aces should be interested, and they're not. Pretty solid play given the level of the game. But that's the wonderful thing about poker. You can encounter all types of play at all levels of the game. You will get people who are very rich and don't know much about the game and just want to play for what they don't consider a lot of money, but many of us would in the big games. And in the small games, you'll get people who have studied the game, maybe younger players, and are just working their way up and are actually excellent poker players but just don't have the bankroll yet. One of the curiosities of poker, unlike other games or sports, is that it is very hard to know what level of play you're going to encounter. In general, the play gets better as you go up through the ranks, in general. But I've had the opportunity to talk to players that play in some of the biggest games in the world, and they say that they encounter incredibly bad play because people, multi-millionaires, for example, fancy a game of poker, they're not going to play in the 5-10 game, they're going to play in the 20,000, 40,000 game. So one of the curios of poker. Tom, you're still in. You're getting dangerously near a prize. And the conversation's dried up, the mirth's dried up. I can tell you the pipe went out 10, 15 minutes ago. The slippers have come off. I pity the poor fools in that tournament against him because he is in the zone. I've cracked him, yeah. Couple more emails while he gets busy with that. Kev's emailed in. Thanks for the email, Kev. He says, I know you get asked about books a lot, but could you just tell me 3 or 4 books that will help my all-round play? Cash games, tourneys, and books that are specific to odds and statistics. Well, we do get asked about books a fair amount, but not every night, and I think it's as well to recap them now and again. I personally, and most of the people involved with the show, think that poker literature is very important because basically you're standing on the shoulders of giants. Other people have been there, worked out the best way to play this game, and they're passing on knowledge which you can digest in a couple of afternoons that has taken poker players years to do. So books are a good way to learn. As Tom said early in the show, though, do be wary that sometimes books and book publishers demand quick fix solutions, and the thing to think about with books is that they give you tools, not rules by which to play, and equip you with the basics of the game. You still need to go out and play and gain that experience. The books that I'd recommend are anything by 2+2 Publishing. That's the company run by, and many of the books written by David Slansky and Mason Malmuth, particularly The Theory of Poker, Hold'em and Advanced Hold'em, or Hold'em for Advanced Players, I think it's called. All excellent. The books that have recently made a big impact on me and a lot of top players and players of all levels actually are the Harrington on Hold'em books. These are books written for tournament poker, particularly no-limit tournament poker. They also include some advice on internet play. So that's Harrington on Hold'em. Another book that, another couple of books actually, let's do the whole list. I would recommend Super System 2 by Doyle Brunson. I know some people don't like it, but I think the section on no-limit poker and also the section on limit poker, both excellent in Super System. And finally, it's not a learning book, but it's one of the nicest books written about poker, Ace on the River by Barry Goldstein. A few seconds left, we're going to the break, and when we come back, we'll see how Tom's getting on. You all right?
The most diverting game.
That reeks of confidence, doesn't it? We'll see how we got on after this. See you in a minute. It's now Friday mornings, Poker Night Live, one of the better days of the week, so I know you're going to be with us till 2 o'clock. And Tom has emerged from his poker game.
I'm out. It's like coming out of a reality TV show. You come blinking into the sunlight.
Apparently, I have to do something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You hungry?
Yeah.
Reaching for your gun?
Yeah.
Well, I'll just talk while Nick fiddles with his apparatus. You might want to put me on a single camera. I'll lean over and have a look at the email that Nick was going to read out. It's from Chris, who says, "Hi guys, I'm a Buddhist and I just started playing with real money earlier this week. The Buddhist vow I have taken is not to take what is not offered. That is an extraordinary view to take as a poker player. I've justified my playing on this basis that other game players have offered their chips, so it's okay to take them." Ah, interesting. "There's another issue for Buddhists. One should avoid grasping or rejecting," he says. "A Buddhist should play without expectation of gain or loss, just simply playing out the logic of the situation. The right plays made dispassionately." And that's very interesting, Chris, because it's commonly understood amongst very, very high-stakes poker players that it's just a way of keeping score. It's not about the money. So they're all closet Buddhists, obviously. He goes on to say, "I don't think any Buddhist would go on tilt." You'd hope not. "The pleasure," he says, in inverted commas, I might add, "for me is not in making mistakes and enjoying others' skill or good fortune, or rather, the pleasure for me is in not making mistakes," that's right, "and enjoying others' skill or good fortune, even if it is at my own expense. I'd be interested in the views of any other Buddhist players." Well, so would we, Chris. We don't know how many Buddhist poker players we have watching this show. You may be the only one, but you may also have started the cult. I suggest you form a website right now called BuddhistPoker.com and see how it gets on. So let's take ourselves down to a cash game as a prelude to seeing my tournament success or failure. Keeping it under wraps for the time being. Down here, 25-50 game. We've got those familiar faces. V3 Ranger, Matt Top Straights, Buffy Be Good. Never heard of Pylon Bill. Kite Master, also a regular player there. And it's a fairly heavily chipped up table here. The maximum sit down is $50, and we've got V3 Ranger with twice that, Craven with 3 times that, Lazarus with more than double it, so heavily chipped up. And this is what happens when people play a cash game for a long time. Just takes a few people to bust out and reload a few times. If no one's going anywhere, then the number of chips accumulates and you get massive, massive pots. And of course, the more chips you have, the more skill there is in the game, the more chips you have relative to the blinds. Offset against that is a tendency for cash games to generally be a little bit looser than tournaments, generally, which means that you can play more cards-based poker in them, usually. I'm not talking about the massive games. So you've got two contrary forces there. On the one hand, the fact that you have a large stack places some sort of liability on you because you've got to play more streets. It's less likely your chips will be in the middle by the flop or the turn. But on the other hand, you do have to find more plays to make in a tournament because everyone else is at it as well and is expecting you to be at it. So you've got a bit more fold equity. It's a bit easier for them to put their hand down and for you to pick up the money in the pot.
I'm back in the room, Tom.
Are you?
Mm.
Well, I had a long time out, so it's only fair that you should.
Apparently, I could be heard, but only
out.
if I put my mouth near your right breast, and I didn't think you'd appreciate that.
I wouldn't mind, but I don't want you talking to it.
No, that would have been.
I'd rather you were
weird.
inspecting it for moles and nothing else.
Sorry about that, guys. Technical gremlins, and I'm a little bit disappointed because I wanted to talk about that email with you because I thought it was fascinating.
Sorry, it's gone now.
Well, yeah, I know. It's in the history of TV.
Well, hey, talk about it now, Nick. Go on. What did you want to say?
Yes, that's all I wanted to say. I didn't actually want to say anything. I just wanted to exhibit a lot of stillness and oneness with things. I just thought it was interesting. Rationalisation is an unfair word, but interesting how a Buddhist finds synergy in poker.
Oh.
Because obviously, potentially, there's a conflict, isn't there? Because potentially you're taking something from someone else, where actually that's not really the Buddhist way. But
I'm with you, Nick. If you sit down, someone sits down at a poker table, that's it. They've made their choice.
yeah,
It
I
is
think so.
offered.
Yeah, if it's offered.
And also in poker, unlike just about any other form of life, it's a level playing field. It doesn't matter if you're a company director, doesn't matter if you had a privileged education, doesn't matter what. You sit down with that table, all you've got your chips, all your opponent's got his chips. Rank has no bearing. If you play well, over time you're going to be a winner. What do you think? Am I right or am I right? When are we going to see
I think
me?
you're right. Well, it's a completely egalitarian game, isn't it? Unless you're poor, in which case it's a horrible game.
That's true, but you can play at the low stakes, which is the other good thing about internet poker, is now you can play brilliant poker for tiny stakes.
Oh, is that? I mean, that is a fantastic aspect of internet poker, no question.
Mm.
We're going to see your game quite soon, I believe, Tom.
Are we good? Because, I mean, this is a cash game. We can leave this any time. It's not like we're watching
Now,
it go.
absolutely desperate to watch himself, you'll note at home.
Well, I'm keen to see. What they had. We all know I busted out of the first one in joint seventh, which is not as bad as it could be. But we don't know what happened in the second one. Well, I know.
No. Well, we're going to find out.
Yes.
We're going to show you both Tom's tournaments. The first tournament, which I've named Abortion, and the second tournament, which we'll name after the outcome. We would love to hear from you if you're playing in those games or watching those games. And, of course, we'd love to hear from any of you about what you think of Tom's play, what you think of the analysis, anything you like. Text 62211 or poker@pokernightlive.co.uk is the email. Let's have a look.
See, what an interesting way to do this, Nick, would for me not to say anything and you just to commentate, as though, you know, I were a regular punter.
Well, doesn't that mean that I've commentated for
Oh, right, okay, I'll commentate.
basically 2 hours?
Lazy or what?
Well, I am deeply lazy, yeah.
All right, well, you're goading me into playing a second game.
No, what happens now is I ask probing questions which draw out of you
Okay,
the
fine.
levels of complexity of thought that you were going through during the situation.
Here's one of your probing questions going to be, what were you thinking of?
Yes.
Good, fine.
Yes.
Well,
Let's have a look, guys.
there she is, Great Scott, with it all to play for in the big blinds.
So, you've
I feel
bravely...
like that was one of my best pots I played there.
You're in profit. Not only that, you're the chip leader right now.
I am, if only it was a cash game, eh?
You've bravely anteed up someone else's money and you're ready to do battle. So you've seen, who have you seen play before on this table?
I've seen Gantu Full One play.
Yeah.
He's relatively lively. But I don't remember anything about the other players.
Uh-huh.
And I don't remember thinking that long. Nick, before folding that? I wasn't doing a dwell up. I don't know what happened there. I think the feed generated some sort of... or maybe I was commentating with you.
You had to multitask.
I did, yeah. I had to scratch myself at one point.
Well, that's just typical online poker etiquette, isn't it?
Yeah.
Freedom to scratch.
Now, this game's all about one pot, really, Nick, and it's the one I went out on.
And obviously it will come up in a minute.
Yeah, very soon, actually.
But do you have regrets, or do you feel comfortable with how you went out?
I feel reasonably comfortable with the situation.
Okay.
But we'll have a look. It's one of those situations where you're in a three-way pot and you're not sure which way you're going, but you know you're going one way.
Yeah.
Happens a lot in Omaha.
Bit of limping from some spades. And spades on the flop would have brought a lot of action.
Speaking of which,
Some rather bold raise, isn't it?
Well, I think everyone's just hoping to have slightly more chips than me so they can knock me out. That's the plan.
I can't believe that. I can't believe. I think they'd be happy to lose to you, so at least they could tell their friends.
I think that would be a plan B.
I remember seeing a bit of footage of Johnny Chan being interviewed after he'd won back-to-back World Series titles, and he was saying how much easier the cash games had got for him because everybody just wanted to be in pots with him.
Oh, really?
So they could say they played against the great Johnny Chan.
Pulled a move on Chan.
Yeah, exactly. In a rounder style. Now, a pair of fours. Early in the sit and go, are you interested?
Well, I limp, expecting to get raised here, but to my surprise, no one does. Maybe they just want to be in a pot with me. I'm feeling the love as they come in behind me. 4 people take the pot. It's a nice situation, but I've lost interest. Nick, surprise, surprise, I've lost interest with that flop.
Yeah. And too many other players. If you were heads up, maybe you would be looking for ways to win the pot, but obviously with that bet, no interest whatsoever.
Tatty bye from Kara.
And that makes a 6-card straight.
Wow. Certainly does, but unfortunately the spade's there, a bit of a worry. Can't remember what happens. There's about a pot-sized bet there from Mordelm. Takes it down.
So how was the experience in terms of, did you feel pressure?
It was interesting because I was trying to work out how people were going to play differently against me, if at all. So I was conscious of that. But no, it's fine. I guess the concern is not to play more conservatively than you would, although that is obviously a pressure because it's time in the game is entertainment for us. Let's have a look. I don't remember it taking this long.
No, well, as we know, you go out early, so I suppose it's all sort of conflated into that one hand in your mind.
One huge nexus of opportunity and lost opportunity.
Pain.
Of massive. Do you want to know what the hand was, Nick?
Oh, I want a bit of suspense.
You don't want to know what my holding was? Okay.
You obviously want to tell me.
No, I'm fine. You know, I'm in therapy as it is, so I'm fine on that front.
That would imply that it's not the strongest holding in the world. Is that true?
You've picked up on the subtext.
That would imply that you didn't get aces cracked.
Yup. Look at that, 4-3 suited. Now, how would you play this one, Nick?
Oh, well, there are aces. This is the hand, is it?
I'm saying no.
I'm guessing it is, judging by your sudden interest.
This is the hand, actually.
Okay.
This is the hand.
So this is Dr. Tom's demise. How did it happen? The aces have limped. Somebody's counted up for us and you've lasted 10 hands. Don't know. It somehow seems worse in those terms. Okay, so you flopped a flush draw and you flopped... Oh, and we can see immediately the trouble.
Big trouble.
Set against you.
Only the flush draw is good. Now, I've got a bet here because I'm going both ways, so I'm in a situation to misrepresent what I finally make. So if I make the flush, they might decide I wasn't on the flush. And if I'm currently good, which is highly unlikely, but make a 4, that also will misrepresent it.
Now, any thoughts of folding here?
Here I'm calling here for the implied odds. Obviously they've gone with the set.
But you don't know that, of course.
No. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
There's the killer card.
So you make your 3 4s. Unknown to you, Chip Star's made his full house. You also have the flush draw, of course.
There's 780 in the pot.
You're moving in, aren't you?
Yeah, I can't leave this now, I don't think. On a good day up against ace king in one hand and something else, who knows, king 10, ace king, king queen, or a flush draw, which they're not going to make. But I'm going both ways here big time. Now I'm beating the aces. Chipster thinks hard and calls. That's obviously a worry. But to be honest, only a set is the only thing I really can worry about there, and sets are very unlikely, or a full house, obviously, with a 4 there. So I'm out. Should we rewind it?
It's an interesting hand. It's an interesting hand from your perspective and from the other two players' perspective as well. Because I'm wondering whether the aces could have got away from it.
Maybe if Chipstar had bet and I'd moved in, then I think he probably could. But I don't know. It's difficult with aces. Are we rewinding? That's it. Okay, well, what do you think, Nick?
I don't think you've got too much to be regretful about, have you?
I'm trying to see it.
I think
where I could have got away from it.
Well, the only possibility is on the flop. I think once that 4 comes down, you can't pass, can you?
Well, yeah, no, on the turn card. So the flop, mostly I've got 11 outs there on the flop, because I've got the 2 4s, mostly, and the flush draw.
Yeah.
Now I've led out, and Duke of Dork here raises. But I don't read him for necessarily having 2 pair or a set.
No, I guess Chipstar's call is a bit worrying, because he's called a bet and a raise cold. That sort of counters that is you don't know anything about his play. He could be a bad player, more than possible.
This is right.
I guess the worry is that he's got a better flush draw.
And I'm behind Duke of Dork.
And you're behind Duke of Dork, yeah, that's the worry. But whether or not...
But it's a 3-way pot. I mean, the baseline probability is fairly low for that.
Yes, it is, yeah.
And now there's already, by the time these players call, let's see, it's going to be, well, if they call, which they don't, in fact, Duke of Dork puts in a small raise. Let's have a look if we can wind it forward to where I'm facing, no, it's a bit, where I'm facing just chip stars. We can only do it in chunks. Can't remember what the pot odds were there.
Well, it was 60, and Duke of Dork made it 240. Chipstar called the 240. There was 60 in the pot before the flop, 60, 60, 120, 240, 240, 480. There's 560 in the pot, and it's going to cost you another 180 to call. So,
so there it's basically, I mean, the implied odds are obviously good if my draw's good.
Yeah.
But if the draw isn't, then anyway, in the event, there wasn't a flush draw, but there was a set. So I was in reasonable shape still with the flush draw. But never mind. What we're going to do, I think, because we are now behind on the schedule, is slip quickly off to the other tournament.
We are now behind on the schedule.
Yeah.
What did you think, guys? We would love to know. I think it was a very interesting hand. Obviously, Tom went out, which is not the game plan. But we would like to know what you think. What do you think of the analysis? Would you have got away from that? You are saying you're better than Tom if you did. What did you think? 62211, 62211. Or email poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. And you can also phone in and hear your comments, providing they're free of booing and hissing, because I've decided that's far too negative. 0906 200 7080 in this spirit of oneness, compassion and enlightenment.
This whole Buddhist thing has just become big in your mind,
I'm very close to moving over, yeah.
I expect to see you gently levitate out of the chair at any moment.
Yogically fly across shot.
Yes.
Here's the answer to what's in the hole, which we've been running last night and tonight. What did Frankie Doodle Dandy have? It is the King Jack. So he has got the full house. Kings over 9s. Let's see it played out with his cards revealed for your viewing pleasure. Congratulations to all of those of you who got it right. If you got the actual cards, you're some sort of genius.
If you got the Jack, you're genius of the irrelevance.
Yes. Yeah, the jack doesn't play, so if you put the jack, then basically you're
cheating.
Yeah, or something. So he's flopped 2 pair, which he checks. His choice. And Maxbot tries a positioned steal of the pot. Rangadoodle checks with the, calls with the top pair, and then sees it fill up on the turn.
He's either going to have it or not with this bet on the end, isn't he, Nick? It's either king. It's not going to be a 9, I don't think.
Yeah.
Unless he's a weak player, it's going to be king or nothing.
Yeah, and that's true. And I think he could have played it more aggressively as well. I mean, there's 2 flush draws out there, so with the full house, you want to give somebody a chance to pay for a draw, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
But he decided not to. He won the pot. Kings over 9s, if you got that. Congratulations, well played. You're a What's in the Hole winner. And you go on our leaderboard, and we'll update you on that throughout the month. We've got a new What's in the Hole immediately.
Wow.
That's how rapid fire this competition is.
It's amazing. Let's have a look at it.
Here's a new puzzle for you guys, and this one will run until halfway through tomorrow night's show, so 24 hours to figure this out. And it's another small blind.
They love it, don't they? It's so quixotic, that position.
If quixotic means people play out of it too much, then that's definitely right.
Quixotic is a long-term loser.
Okay, guys, so I'm sure you're starting to know this drill by now. What is Play for Me's holding? You need to figure it out based on his betting pans, obviously, as you would have to if you were in the hand with him. So if you were Cook 47 and you were sitting there with Ace 10, what have you got Play for Me on right now? You've limped with your Ace 10, and he's raised from the small blind, and now you've hit your Ace. And I think this hand is to illustrate the perils of playing Ace 10. Frankly, decided to move all in. Play for Me's called, and is Play for Me going to win the hand? He is. So he must be beating Ace 10. What does he have? A flush, 2 pair, a set, a better ace? You decide, and text your answer with the word hole, your name, to 62211. Easy to play.
But it's just a stopgap until we bring out the board game.
Here we go. This is exciting. Yeah, the board game for this Christmas. It's going to happen. Although the board game is going to be basically 2 bits of sticky tape that you can put on your computer, isn't it?
Don't blow our idea.
For $34.99.
Yeah, but it's, you know, it's the brand.
It's a brand. You're buying into the dream. Guys, we're going to look at Tom's second tournament.
Yeah, hey.
Here we go. And this one has got a bit of longevity, so we're going to see some interesting hands, I think.
Now bear in mind this is the 30, so 6 times the size. And I've only got to get 3rd place to win back all of Kara's money.
So objective number 1, 3rd place to avoid a beating. You know that Kara used to fight full contact
she's
martial arts.
She's limbering up as we speak.
Yeah, yeah.
Depending
So
on the
I hope
outcome.
you're enjoying Tom's last appearance on Poker Night Live.
How do you know I lose?
Or his redemption.
Or his redemption, yeah. Maybe the limbering up will be in vain. In the big blind, decides not to raise with 5-6. There's one laydown I made in this game that I think might be wrong, but I just didn't feel like I had to get involved, as they say in poker, so I put it down. But I'll be interested to see what my opponent had. Judging on his future call, I think I probably was ahead of him, but we'll have a look.
Uh-huh. So, Johan Harren, obviously you know very well.
Mm-hmm.
Any of the others? There's a few names I don't recognise.
Well, Charwell, according to Johan Harren, was loose, but...
I can't believe you put that in the chat box.
I know.
Wasn't Charwell massively insulted?
I can't remember how the conversation went from there. But you can only pay so much attention to what these people say. I think a retort came Johan's way. So nothing doing with the Jack-8 in a four-way pot. Great Scott checks it, preparing to throw it away. Still no interest. Still no interest.
You lost.
I lost, yeah. Now I'm down below my starting stack.
Panic bells.
But it's all right. I've picked up Ace King.
Oh, look what you've run into.
Pair of kings. And let's see how this plays out.
If you're in Charwell's spot there early in a sit and go, would you be limping or raising?
Hang on, am I trying to take two perspectives? I'm trying to remember what I was thinking of, Nick.
Yes, you are. Well, Tommy Lyon's trying to steal the wrong pot.
I'm hoping to catch an ace for a king here. Now I've been raised, or rather the Tommy Lyon's been raised.
Yeah.
And I've got Johan Haren's recommendation to go on, but I'm not interested. I fold it.
Now, this is my problem with limping with kings and aces in early position, because people say they're looking for a raise so they can re-raise. But surely, if you've been playing poker for 5 minutes, you know that a limp followed by a raise out of early position is aces or kings, don't you?
Or a weird player, but generally you
Or a
give
weird player,
them
but
credit. Yeah.
But you're almost certainly not going to play on, are you?
No.
Which is why I think that people sort of overestimate the utility of that move. Unless all they want to do is capture one pre-blind raise, which in certain times is possibly what you want to do, I don't know. I would have thought if you're going to limp early in a sit and go, and then it gets raised behind you, you're smooth calling, aren't you, and hoping to
you
trap more
pretend
money
you've been
on the
dragged into the pot
yeah.
unwittingly. Unless, as you say, he decides suddenly that his hand is up, is shown, and it's time just to take the pot down. Cool, big pairs of bounds.
But not for Great Scott.
No, not yet.
Kara's a bit disappointed she couldn't get her official nickname.
What is her official nickname?
Toast Rack.
Why is that her official nickname?
It was decided by the viewers of Poker Night Live on one of her first nights, and it's an anagram of Cara Scott.
Oh, right. I thought maybe it's because she had abs look like a toast rack. That's how I thought.
I think she does.
Yeah. I guess I'll find out one way or another.
She can actually beat you up with just her abdominal muscles. It's extraordinary. So Johan Haren facing a raise with a bad ace. And he's not going to be interested in that. A calm beginning to your sit and go.
What do you mean, Carl? Ace King? I've got to throw it away?
Yeah, that's true. A lively beginning to your sit and go. It's quite an interesting. It's an interesting one that because this has come up in the last couple of shows, which is people going break. I can't talk tonight, which is disappointing. People going broke in the first round or the second round pre-flop with Ace King. It's always a mistake, isn't it? I would have thought.
Well, in the grand scheme of things, people who sit down on sit-and-go tables, I mean, we're not talking here about a particularly prestigious field generally across the broad sweep. It would surprise me if overall you might break even, because people will come in and they say, well, I'm going to play Queen 10 suited like a nutter, double through, and if I don't, I'll lose interest. If you're playing the game for prestige and good poker, then yeah, throw it away, because you don't look brilliant, either way, when you correctly call and he's got nothing, or when you wrongly call and he's got a big hand. So I think you can't really do much wrong by folding it, but in the long run, maybe you would break even if you called. You're frowning in disbelief.
No, not disbelief, just not convinced.
Oh, what, disbelief then?
No, not disbelief.
Mild
I'm
disbelief.
open to the concept, I'm just assimilating that idea.
In a Buddhist way.
I'm feeling compassion for you, Tom, and for all of my fellow players, as I receive their money rather than take it.
As it is offered.
As it is offered to me, very much so.
Gosh, it all looks very peaceful from this end.
Outside the maelstrom.
6-3 suited. Don't remember getting that at all, strangely. Blinds at the second level now.
Now, you are the short stack.
Pressure.
Pressure starting to build. I do think in the structure of sit and goes there is reasonably constant pressure, actually, because you're 40 hands away at the beginning from 163.20 blinds. That is a fast structure, which of course makes the tournament more exciting to watch, but needs to be allowed for if you're playing. Charwell has the queens. Makes a pretty standard re-raise.
Gets called.
Yeah. Interesting call. And a favourable flop. And Tommy Lyon's going to play for everything with a flush draw and a middle pair. And it's not good enough.
3 pairs for both of them.
And now you're guaranteed 7th. So you know now that you're not going to do worse than...
I'm going to do better because I'm guaranteed 7th outright, not join 7th. So I'm a happy camper at this point, Nick.
No, that's understandable.
I know which way I'm going, and it's up. Towards the surface.
Yeah. I had a question about fish, actually, on an email. And I massively apologise to whoever sent it in, because I passed over it in favour of other emails, and now it's relevant, and so I don't know who it's from. So I apologise if you sent it in, but it was what is a fish? Now I know what one is. Quite why it's called a fish, I don't know. Do you know?
The only thing I can think of is that sharks eat fish.
But how did we get to this aquatic area in our naming of things in poker?
Because a shark is, generally speaking, someone who's predatory and not to be messed with. So if there are sharks at the table, there must be fish who are consumed.
Okay.
Because sharks don't eat antelopes.
I saw this woman on the television the other day, and she was from some society or association or something that does PR for sharks, and basically tries to counter the negative image of sharks that she said basically started with Jaws. No, the negative image of sharks starts because they eat everything. And they're very, very frightening. I don't think Jaws invented that, did it? That was, if you've ever been near a sea, you're not going to want a shark anywhere near you, are you? That's just facts.
Where was this lunatic from? Not that I'm going to judge an entire region or nation by...
No, I think she was British, but she was from some society, and presumably sharks are, hunted, or there's less sharks than there used to be or something. For those of us that want to swim on our lilo, I actually think that's a good thing. Anyway, yeah, the answer to the question is, as I hope you divined from our ramblings, is that fish are weak players who, as Tom says, are consumed by sharks. Interesting bet by Johan Harren. But it works. Obviously checked round once and figured nobody had any of that flop. Ace-2 suited in an unraised pot. Tom, are you interested?
No, I'm not.
No.
Nope, I don't want Johan Harren playing back at me, either with or without a hand. I'm not particularly comfortable catching the ace, so I'm not really looking at a good flop unless it's 2-pair or maybe a flush draw.
And a split pot beckons. Now we I mean, presumably you rate Johan Haren's play.
Mm-hmm.
Were you conscious of not particularly wanting to tangle with him in pots, or would that not affect your decisions at all, or a little bit? Or?
Probably he's a man I don't want to give an opportunity to put a play in against me. So,
Okay.
But I'm looking here to get myself in a situation where I'm probably got the best of it. I don't have that. I've got 10 big blinds. There's not much room for much fancy manoeuvring here. So I'm just looking for a situation where, by virtue of position, or what I can divine about my opponents and what they've done, or most importantly, frankly, at this stage, my cards, I think I've got the best of it. And if that's the case, then it doesn't matter who I'm in the pot with.
Yeah. Yeah, need to build that stack, and then hope to have some opportunity for play later on, or, you know, in the middle stages, really. It's not happening with Queen 2.
No, apparently not. In the bin it goes.
So just for viewers who are trying to get a handle on, we do get a lot of emails on when to open up, for want of a better phrase. At what point are you going to start thinking about making moves regardless of your cards?
With 10 big blinds and a sneaking suspicion that people are wanting to play back at me, not right now.
Not yet. Maybe towards 5 big blinds, or
Definitely 5, yeah,
Yeah.
or 7 is okay.
okay.
Now this is where this may look like a brilliant play.
Yeah, Haren limps on the button, dodgy user makes up, and then you're going to have a pop.
Yep. But I don't mean to raise the minimum, I mean to raise more.
Okay.
And I've mistyped. But happily.
But as I was saying to you in the break, Tom, we don't see this play very often. I see it much more live, which is a limped pot and then the big blind making a raise, basically to steal dead money. It's quite an effective play, isn't it?
I think in live people are just more confident about the degree of read. It's a complete read play. It's not based on your cards, it's based on your certainty that they haven't got a hand. And
Yeah.
live they just feel more comfortable, rightly or wrongly, with the information they're getting, saying, I can take this pot, they can't call.
Right, right. Want to add to your armoury, guys? Try it out, see if you can make it work for you. Stealing from the big blind if no one's raised in the pot.
Oh, they're going to do some stats on me. I wonder if I'm top. No, I'm not. I'm not the tightest player there.
No. The flamboyant, curly-haired left-hander tribute act is top. But, you know,
Up
you're
there.
along recommended lines. Well done.
And look, there are many plagiarists there. Flipper, Howley and Johan Haren, all exactly mirroring my pre-flop behaviour of
Stealing from the
83.
best.
Oh, what else have we got? That's not very flattering, is it?
I think that's
Can we
why.
take that one away?
I think that's why they've put it up, Tom.
Yeah, but it's not number of pots, is it? It's the amount of money. And I'm no longer the small stack.
Don't you let them bully you with their stats. It's not fair, is it?
I know. You're not listening about stats.
They show up flaws in your game.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Gao Power got himself into a bit of a muddle there. Forced to put in most of his stack with middle pair. One of those situations where the bet he made, I guess as a bluff, was middle pair, or at least wanting to win the pot right there. Didn't leave enough chips behind that he could get away from the hand. And a nice pot for dodgy geezer. He becomes the chip leader. Oh, a hand.
Yeah, ace king. Now, I laid it down earlier, and I'm sitting here with 10 big blinds, so mentally now my chips are in the middle. I'm not going to be pushed off this. And I don't know what Charles' reasoning is here. I think he just decides that I've changed gear and decided to put in a steal. But he comes back over the top, but I'll call him without too much ado. And at this point, I just wondered what I laid my ace-king down against earlier. when he had the kings. So I did think, oh, did I miss a trick earlier? But it turns out...
your timing was excellent.
Yeah, I chose the right one. Easier, of course, when the blinds are that much bigger. And no outdraw.
Yeah, Charwell, you have contacted the show before. It would be great to hear from you tonight. poker@pokernightlive.co.uk, of course. You came over the top with the ace-9. Did you have him on a steal? And now, as a reward, you've been given the ladies.
3 times a big blind, a useful sort of raise. Of course, I'm more than happy to get action here because I'm going to need the chips, but a fold isn't the end of the world either. Pick up 120.
And you're our chip leader.
I am the chip leader, yeah.
Exciting.
I wonder if we'll get a chip movement graph at the end of this. I wonder what colour they'll put me in. Charwell on the mend.
Great to hear from, we have already got a few in, to hear from any of you that were playing this game, or any of you that watch this game, or any of you that are watching it now. As we see Kara make a very strange... Oh no, you're in the big blind.
But it was very sweet of you, Nick, to lay the blame at Kara's
Yeah, I've got your back. Dodgy Geezer makes a reasonable play, isolating the razor. Gower Power's all in for almost, only just over a big blind. Gower Power survives up to 500. Now we think, Tom, we're not 100% on this, but we think one of our team picked up that in the chat box, Gower Power is Taft's tool. You remember Taft's tool from earlier play?
Oh yeah, he's changed his name, has he?
Or he has more than one.
Blown his cover.
Well, if he's going to put it in the chat box, that is going to blow your cover.
Perhaps it was a reverse bluff.
Oh my goodness, look at this. Aces, kings and jacks.
Unfortunately, this is where I decided to make a massive move, trying to push Gower off his last 20.
Johan Haran plays. I'm a bit surprised by that. And nines, I didn't even see the nines.
Johan's hoping to see ace, king, but that's what they've got, but unfortunately in the wrong combination.
And Gower Power hits the set, and Charwell is crying in his beer.
Yep.
Are you surprised that Johan Haran played there with a raise and a re-raise in front?
I think he can probably let it go. As I say, if he specifically just visualised ace, king, he wants to be in there. But yeah, it's, I don't know, Charwell's been playing quite loose, so Johan Haran can say, well, Gower Power doesn't need a big hand to move here. I'd probably let it go. Yeah, I'd probably let it go. But there's going to be a few occasions where he sees them both turn over aces.
Yeah.
And not much else.
Yeah.
No, I certainly had to think about the Queen 9 here. I just think I let this one go. Oh no, he's got ace king. Must be a different Queen 9. Yeah, no, I didn't have too much of a think there.
Subtle play of the ace king by Dodgy Geezer. Big blind 160.
8 big blinds. I don't mind that at all, to be honest. He's out of position if he's called, and he'll often get called by a worse hand.
Now you didn't play ace 9 there.
No.
5-handed.
That's right. I remember folding that and thinking, what am I going to say about that when I'm talking about it? But I can't remember what I decided. I think I decided my chip stack was just the wrong size. It was neither big enough nor small enough to play it satisfactorily. I don't think I could find the right price to put in.
Okay.
Also, now I remember what I was thinking. The table had been very, very lively indeed.
Yes.
So I thought there's a good chance to get a call, and furthermore, by avoiding conflict here, with 5 players, and usually I don't particularly recommend this, but with 5 players, with this amount of action, I really feel that there's a strategic advantage to keeping out of pots. And of course,
yeah, I mean, the only reason to play ace 9 would be to take the blinds, wouldn't it? You don't want to see a flop with that hand because you
don't know where you are.
You're never going to be confident with any flop.
You need a couple of
ace,
nines.
ace 9, yeah. Charwell takes the blinds, and I suspect this tournament is one blind raise away from carnage. Not that it's been slow up to now.
And I think by my delay there, I must have been preparing to bet with the ace-5 because I hadn't pressed the automatic fold button.
If I was past you on the button, I guess you would, wouldn't you? You can afford to steal a hand and get away.
Well, let's see. My reason there suggests that I do play this ace-5 if I folded the last one. Do I play it? Yes, I do. So there, I move in.
And you move in, for those people who are trying to get to grips with no limit hold'em and betting levels and that kind of thing, why not raise to 500 or something like that?
I'm worried about, I mean, if Gower Power goes all in for 1340, I'm going to have to put in 800 to win so much, I'm committed to the pot. Gower Power's the biggest stat there, so I can't find a raiser that can take the blinds that I can get away from. If everyone's got the same chip stack as me, it's slightly different. And I don't want to give him, by putting in a smaller amount, if it's just possible he's not paying attention and he's not realised that his re-raise basically is almost certainly going to get a call from me, and therefore I might encourage him to make a play against me.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's the reason that it just completely closes off that option. And Gower Power making a strong move with the King-7. And we're now playing pre-flop poker, aren't we, really? Because almost all the players are going to move in if they play.
Yep. Yeah, blind's so high now. And I'm trying to get a hand. I'm conscious here of the size of my stack to the blinds. 163.20, so I've got fewer than 4 big blinds. I've just about got enough chips to produce a fold, and that's why I move all in with Jack-5 there. And I get the call, I don't get the fold I'm looking for, but I'm ahead. And this is the thing about sit and goes, is you'd be surprised how often you move in with rubbish and still get called by, albeit only a slightly worse hand, a worse hand. So that's extra reason to move.
Well, everybody's under pressure, aren't they? And they sometimes make mistakes. Don't think Howley had to call that. And the Jack stands up. And this is the thing, isn't it? Unless there's a pair involved, which the vast majority of times there won't be, you're never that far behind in Hold'em pre-flop.
That's right. So
and
now,
yeah, go on.
Now
you
I'm
tell us.
relatively chipped up here, but because other players are still low stacked, it hasn't really changed the dynamic of the game. Gower Power and Charwella can't be pushed off a pot once they've put any chips in. So we're in the same situation. We're at the bubble, but things can change so quickly that there's no point resting on your laurels there.
Any temptation to play here, Tom? Double the blind raise from Gower Power.
And I decided to call, and what I'm thinking there, I mean, thank God I didn't move, but I'm thinking of playing here. Obviously, if I catch a queen or jack, by then I'm committed.
Dangerous now, because you've picked up a flush draw. And would you have thought of having a pop at the pot on the turn there?
Well, what I think about is here, this is where I pop. I'm certain by now he doesn't have an ace.
Yeah.
And look at this. Look, what I'm thinking is I'm probably ahead. If I'm raised, I can just fold it. And if he's got a king, I might well push him off this. I think there's a good chance he's got a king here. He's got 2 kings. But look how long he thinks, Nick. Of course, you know, I wonder if I'd stuck them all in, whether he'd have folded, but I don't think I can make that move.
Well, he's heard you bang on about the river principle for such a long time.
Which is that you should only bet a hand which you must be bluffing on or where you're expecting to get a call.
Mm.
Yeah. But I don't think he can call with a bare king. To be honest, by that point, I don't put him on a hand.
No, I don't think he can call with a bare king.
But he might have a king. So
I guess what he's correctly reasoned is, if you've got a hand that beats him, he would have heard from you before in the hand, unless you've got an absolute monster. Yeah,
my logic here is I'm in a better position to represent holding a big hand, because on the turn, the player in position is going to bet, because it's really his last chance to get any money from a drawing hand.
Yeah.
But a guy in first position on the turn, which is me, has still got some mileage in trapping, because by checking at that point, he might still get a bet on the turn from the late position player. So I feel I can still represent a hand here even when it's reached the river, whereas Gower Power can't.
Right.
That
so
was my
you're happy
logic.
with that? Happy with that bet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very happy.
But
yeah.
disappointed he called, of course.
Yeah, if he'd folded, I'd have been, very happy.
Well, it's massive. I mean, what was the pot there? It's like...
It was nice odds.
Yeah, it was
for a
very
bluff.
good odds.
And that's why I chose
yeah.
a bluff, because a king who's getting attractive odds will still fold. So that was my logic there. I can still push off a better hand with a small bluff.
Very interesting play, and guys, I do hope this is eye-opening for you. From the feedback we're getting, you are enjoying this feature. It's eye-opening for you, isn't it?
Very, yes. I'll be interested to see how it all turns out.
We can't get the whole tournament in before the break, so we've frozen it there, and also adds a little bit of suspense, doesn't it? I know you'll stay with us to see the conclusion. We've got an email from Hoofy about your first tournament play.
What does he say?
Where you went out. He says, unlucky on your exit from the first tournament, Tom. In that situation, I would not have bet against two players and would then have been able to fold against the bet and probable raise. This is when Tom ended up going out with 3-4s or even call. I would have feared a bigger flush draw from the caller. That's the one thing we did sort of pick up on. However, as was determined by yourself and Malcolm Harwood the other night when I folded King 10 suited on the button, I am even tighter than Mr. Harwood, who, for those of you who don't know, is called the Rock, so that's tight. Can't really fault your play. I just missed out on playing that $30. Hope to play against you soon. P.S. We all know the reason why Tom played on Kerr's account. PokerZone set him up with an account. He came in early and blew the lot at 5-10 cash.
Rumbled. I should have looked at who was lurking in the chat box. Yeah, oh well. They've got very deep pockets, as you can see from my expensive set here. So I'm sure they're refilled both my account and Kerr's.
Tell that just from our haircuts, to be fair.
That's right, yeah.
Or something. Any revision of your play of that hand when you went out in the first tournament? Hoofy's
Yeah, no, I know what he was saying.
questioning.
I don't know, it's difficult not to be results oriented here. As you know, folks, if I see a situation I like, I'm more than happy to go out or double up in the early stages of the tournament. I like the three-way pot. Unfortunately, on that occasion, I didn't make the flush draw, but maybe next time.
Okay, well, we have got lots more to come. Obviously, we've got the conclusion of Tom's second single table, and also we've got the final table of our multi-table tournament, which we've probably forgotten all about because we're so wrapped up in your play.
Of course.
That will be great. We'd still like to get in touch. Plenty of emails coming through, but we can always handle more. You can text 62211, email poker@pokernightlive.co.uk, and you can, if you wish, hear your voice live on the show. 0906 200 7080 if you'd like to phone in and leave a message. I'm going to do that one of my nights off.
You know it'll cost you £1.
I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
No, I am. I'm going to do it loads of times. It'll be brilliant. I hope you're looking forward to the rest of Tom's game. It's coming out very soon. We won't be gone long. I promise. We'll see you in a little minute. Bye. This is the last hour of Poker Night Live tonight, hasn't it flown?
It has flown by. Of course, I haven't been commentating for about an hour, so easy for me to say.
It must be nice. I'm trying to work out, I haven't done it yet, I'm trying to work out whether having an hour off to play poker outweighs the pressure to perform.
There's not much pressure now, is there? Of course, we haven't seen the thrilling denouement to game number 2
We haven't.
of Kerr's.
We're going to see how she got on in a minute. We'll just slide in a couple of emails. Garbert's emailed in about Ace Queen.
Oh.
Ace Queen. It's a fickle mistress. Dahl Brunson says he's lost more money with Ace Queen in his poker career than any other hand, and he should know, because he's played all his hands. My question is, when you have Ace Queen suited or something similar and raise with it in late position, and the flop comes down, do you recommend raising again even if you don't hit your cards? How much would you recommend the raise to be when you're playing in a cash game? If someone calls, what do you recommend doing on the turn? Well, this is the kind of age-old problem in all types of hold'em game, I think, where you raise with big cards and then miss the flop. The number of players is very important, the position is very important, your table image is very important. There's no one answer to this, is there, Tom?
No, I mean, this isn't at all a question about ace-queen suited. Well, you say yourself, something similar. As Nick says there, it's basically, should you chuck in a continuation bet or not? And it depends on whether your opponents know that as a standard play, whether they're capable of calling with nothing, seeing if you check the turn and then taking it off you on the river, or on the turn if you're playing from early position. So unfortunately, it's a very touchy-feely sort of play, that, the continuation bet. If you do pop in a continuation bet, sometimes you'll get called by someone waiting to see if you bet again, He's going to fold it. If you do bet again, fire off a single bullet, but in pot limit or no limit, that becomes very, very expensive. So it really is a case of, I think if in doubt, don't do it. It's that simple. But if you think right there at that time there's a chance it'll work, then give it a pop. Why not keep a journal for the next 3 weeks? Count how many pots you take down with a continuation bet. Of course, some of them you were ahead anyway. The guy had missed big time. And how many times you get stung. So, and then you'll know how you're doing at the end of 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe even longer, I think. Maybe a month.
Good advice. It is one of those things that definitely comes with experience, that feel of when it's right to follow through on the flop and when it isn't. We've got an email from Aidan, which I hesitate to read out, but I'm going to. It's funny. I've got a query. My missus, these are Aidan's words, has offered me a bit of action, and I'm undecided as to whether to take her up on it or play poker and watch Poker Night Live. What would you suggest? Aidan, if you need our opinion, you're in serious trouble. I've told her I'm emailing you for your advice. I want to know, are the two concepts mutually exclusive?
Yes. I'm a romantic, Nick, and I say
they
are
they
mutually exclusive. Yeah.
All right. Can't combine your favourite two activities. Don't know, Aidan, I would suggest if you want to listen to us prattle on as opposed to that, you may need to take a long, hard look at your marriage. That's Nick's salient advice. The denouement of your tournament beckons.
The denouement?
Or what's the opposite of denouement?
Beginning?
The beginning of your tournament, but that can't be right. Let's see the end of Tom's tournament, shall we? Let's have a look. Did it end in glorious success, dismal failure?
Well, I'm short stacked now, Nick.
You are?
And next hand, I'm going to be pretty much committed to the pot. So I've got 7-8 suited, which is better than average hand. I stick it all in. I'm in this situation around about 48% against... Oh, no, I'm not. What am I talking about? I'm miles behind. I'm about 40% with 7-8
I think
suited.
you're a little bit unlucky to be called, though.
Ace-9? Well, I don't know. Yeah, I think Charwell... Well, Charwell's a fairly lively player. He's probably against many hands I'm going to call with it. But to be honest, Nick, the decision out of my hands there, I'm going to be all in on the next hand anyway, regardless of what two cards I'm dealt, when more than a third of my stack is in the middle.
Yeah, just clarifying that for people. You've got 1,100 chips, 1,160 chips, and you're about to take the big blind, which would mean that you'd committed 320, you only got 700 or 800 left, so your thinking is 7-8 suited. A, it's better than average, and B, I know I'm first into the pot.
That's right. It's on a good day, I take this down without a call.
So what...
Oh, I just got bubbled, by the way, in case
you
that
just got
didn't,
bubbled. Yeah, I mean, that's the tragic end, isn't it? The confirmation that you did, in fact, lose carers buy-in there.
But still, we're not results-oriented here, because it's not our money.
We're not. So in the spirit of not being results-oriented, what sort of, just to try and give people a bit of a feel for this, what sort of cards would you have passed in that spot? Or given the situation, would you be playing almost any two cards?
No, there are certainly situations where I'll play any two cards, but I don't particularly mind if I'm forced to end up in the big blind with a big chunk of my stack in the middle, knowing that I'm going to call with any two cards. If that's going to happen, so be it. You know, on a good day, the small blind is left behind as dead money. So I wasn't going to play any two cards there because I think my folding equity is fairly low. But I think I'd have played 4-5 suited the same.
Yeah.
Most kings I'd play. Queen with a kicker sort of within a stone's throw of it. Queen 9 maybe. Probably a suited queen if the kicker wasn't too low. So I guess probably half the hands in the deck.
Okay. Yeah.
And look, we've stopped commentating now that I know. How rude of us.
The purpose was to analyse your play. Charwell has hit a 2, and that's going to keep him in this thing against Dodgy Geezer. So you bubbled out. Did you meet with a lot of supportive comments when you bubbled out, or did you meet with a lot of derision?
Well, I only started looking at the chat box after the game ended, pretty much, because I don't pay too much attention to it during the game, regardless of whether it's TV Tom in it or me in my anonymous guides. I think there's a mixed chorus of vindictive disapproval, what's the word? Not jeers, and a few unluckies, which was very big of those players. Thank you, players. I think Tragic Trev offered some useful advice, but I can't quite remember what it was at this moment. It didn't
Was it
involve
direct?
ace queen, which made for a change.
Well, Dodgy Geezer's moved on the wrong pot here, I think. He's in trouble now. And it's all but over. As we see a sensational comeback here.
What? I win it.
That would be impressive.
The integrity of the game might be under question.
Yeah, indeed. Oh, overkill. Probably would have liked to have saved that full house for another time. It doesn't work like that.
If you're going to split up a house of threes over deuces into two hands, what two hands would you have?
This is like a new game. Oh, look, Charwell's won the tournament. If it's any consolation, Tom, you lost to the eventual winner.
Yeah, and strangely, I think all the moves I made against Charwell were the correct ones. I folded against his kings, I played against his ace-9, got a call from the ace-9 rather. Anyway, never mind.
In the hand you went out on, if you'd have been Charwell, would you have played the ace-9? I think he had 1,400 in chips, something like that. 1,400.
It's a close one.
It is.
It is a close one. I mean, I'm expecting, to be honest, my opponent to turn over a hand that's, on average, slightly worse than that, but not a lot worse. So it depends how much you value not getting involved. And I can't remember how many chips Charwell had, but if he's got any fold equity left with his stack, if he doesn't call, I think that's the deciding fact.
He sort of something like that.
It's a close from thing.
Yeah.
I suppose a fold is a sort of marginal preferred play there, but there's a lot of luck by that point anyway. People are going to be moving with all sorts of hands. So I certainly don't begrudge him his call. Good
stuff. Well, I really hope you enjoyed watching Tom play through that and commentate on it. I'm not sure how much he enjoyed the result, but he enjoyed the experience, didn't he?
Not my money.
What a beautiful concept. Guys, we'd love to know what you thought. We'd love some feedback, any questions on the play in the game, anything like that. You know where to send them, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Still time to get your email read out on the TV and dealt with tonight on the show. We've got a new what's in the hole question. It's true. Let's have a look at it. The competition that's sweeping the nation, currently in live TV form, but soon in board game and travel board game formats. Play for me is in the small blind. We can see his hole, but what's in it? His cards are obscured. It's as if you're playing in a game with him. In a real game, of course, you would only have his betting patterns to go on. So this is a little bit of practice for your card reading skills. What are you going to put him on? We don't need to know the actual cards. We do need to know the holding. So does he end up with two pair, a set, top set? What is it? And in this one, as we see it play through, we know that he ends up winning the pot. So you've got a little bit of guidance there because he must have a better hand than Cook 47s. As we've said, there will be a leaderboard for this competition of those people that are consistently getting it right, and there'll be monthly prizes. So you'll be the top reader of the Poker Night Live audience. There you go. He wins, he beats ace 10. So what did he beat it with? Just text hole, your answer, and your name, of course, to the normal text number 62211. Do you know the answer?
Well, that one's much less clear than the last two I've seen, to be honest.
There's more possibilities, aren't there?
Yeah, many more.
We're making them harder for you expert readers out there. Guys, we're going to go to a big cash game. We've got our 25.50 cent cash game up. I thought it was a $25.50 cash game. I got all excited.
Well, that's just as exciting, watching 25 cent, 50 cents.
And more relevant to most of our viewers, of course.
Indeed. And there's Charwell, look. Our sit and go winner, spun it up into a cash game. For first place.
Money there.
Oh, carers money. First place in a $30 sit and go. He takes 120.
Battle of the kickers often ends in a split pot. Any card higher than a 5 will see this one. I'm talking absolute nonsense.
Why are you talking nonsense?
No, I'm correct. I'm second guessing myself. How bizarre.
There it is.
It's getting late.
It's a card you were talking about.
A split pot. And that is often the result when you have two aces with very low kickers going up against each other. That's one of those bizarre moments where, you know, sometimes when you write a word and then it looks wrong. That was one of those moments.
What?
I knew what I was saying was right, but then suddenly it sounded completely wrong.
So you fell off the bike that was the train of your thought, as a Buddhist might say.
Oh, good. Back to the old Taoist bent. Was Taoism is a form of Buddhism, is that right?
I think
so. I'm throwing around beliefs like candy.
Well, I'm sure someone will text in, but I think, it's sort of just what Mao wiped out in a generation without wanting to get too political again.
That's not political, that's factual, isn't it?
Well, things you were saying about Silvio Berlusconi were...
Oh, no, that was purely opinion.
Okay.
But I stand by it, and there's not a right-thinking man in the land that would convict me.
Anyway, The Tao of Poker. There's a book, isn't there, called The Tao of Poker? I'm pretty sure there's one.
Oh, yeah?
Or is it The Tao of Poo?
There's definitely...
There is a book called The Tao of Poo.
Okay.
As in... Oh, no, The Tao of Piglet. Or is it The Cheng of Piglet? We are straying off the main topic of tonight.
I think we've lost Tom. Too much poker on the show.
I'm still thinking about that move against the king.
Indeed.
With the Queen Jack.
There's definitely a book called Zen and the Art of Poker, which is
oh, that's what I'm thinking of, yeah.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, Zen and the Art of Poker is a very good read. And I do... this is one of Casper's thoughts, but I think he's absolutely right. If you can achieve a Zen-like calm when you're playing poker, so much the better, because we all know when our emotional state's disturbed in any way when we play poker, we don't play as well. And you will have to accept your fair share of reversals as you're playing poker. So if you can accept those with good grace and stillness, you're probably doing all right.
It's interesting because the evolutionary perspective on emotions is the reason why they evolved, and the reason why we have them is that they motivate us to act accordingly. So fear obviously moves us away from a terrifying situation, like a big bluff. Guilt motivates us not to transgress social codes so that we don't suffer sanction in the future. Shame likewise. Joy is rewarding. So there's a case of saying, given that you should be motivating yourself in poker to play well, you shouldn't be borrowing these emotions at all, because you might find that you just don't play good poker if you don't value the stakes. How do you keep the stakes high once you've banished emotion? Because the stakes are mostly emotional. I mean, most people who play poker don't do it for a living. Most people who play poker play it because they want to win. They want to play well. But money is what's the source of what they're trying to spend all their time trying to get money. So if they don't feel an emotional response when they do well, or when they do badly, what keeps them motivated?
Can you separate the two? Can you have motivation in a global sense, in that you want to make money, but then when you're actually in the moment at the table, you enter a state of calm? Or is it not useful at all? Is that what we're now?
Well, this is what our Buddhist man is advocating, but does it make any sense? I mean, can you say, I am incredibly motivated to win this, but not really? Can you just say, I'm motivated when you walk into the casino, you sit down at the computer, and then stop being full of emotions? I mean, it is in the end only emotions that motivate us to do anything. There's
two conflicting philosophy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm getting a sense of it.
There's two conflicting viewpoints. Our Western way of achieving success is, isn't it? It's get motivated, get up for it, go and get it and win, and that's our Western way. Whereas the Eastern way of getting what you want in life is to let calm envelop you, and you attract good things by giving out good things in a karmic way. And it's a much more passive way of achieving your results, whereas a Western way is a much more aggressive way of achieving your results.
We are richer as part of the world.
Monetarily, I think we're probably much poorer happiness-wise.
Spiritually, could be. I mean, you've done the whole real job thing, Were you happy?
I didn't actually do it, to be fair. I was
You were paid to do it.
contracted to do it. No, I was deeply unhappy. And all surveys show this, don't they? Surveys of different societies measuring happiness show that our societies are the most unhappy societies on the planet, even less happy than places which are resource poor.
It's interesting, as you move away from the equator, apparently people get happier as well, which is strange.
Really?
You think they'd get less happy?
So the most happy people are Buddhists in Reykjavik.
On the other hand, people commit suicide more at high latitudes, so that doesn't make much sense. I mean, they're laughing when they kill themselves, but there's no logic to it, really. Where was poker in this one?
Well, it's all about happiness, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's...
if poker doesn't make you happy, you shouldn't be playing.
Yeah,
Seamless. I think we may have drifted off the subject. Let's get right back into the guts of a poker game. This is the final of our multi-table tournament. Now, we're joining it heads up, and the reason we're joining it heads up is that it is a battle and a half, I'm told.
Wow.
So if you want to see some heads up, want to improve your heads up game, or just see a different perspective on how to play, let's watch these two players. They've battled their way through 244 runners.
God, look at the blinds, Nick. That's incredibly low.
Isn't it?
I think there's been madness earlier in this tournament.
Yeah, there must have been. Well, we picked up on it, didn't we? Because you introduced that idea, and it certainly seems to be true that people are playing very fast at the start of these multi-table TV tournaments. Tens versus ace queen. Well, you'd think this would be a big confrontation. Bomu's all in. Filigate calls. And the 10 stand up. So that's a massive pot early on in the heads up. But not decisive.
No. I'm still...
Because the blinds are so small.
Yeah, Flig's got, what's it called, Filg? He's still, after that massive, massive pot, he's still got, what is it, 15 big blinds?
Yeah, there really is...
And there must have been carnage at the final table as well, or at least some freak matchups.
I'd have thought so, yeah.
Because at the final table there is a lot to be said for, in marginal situations, letting it pass, so you can move up the prize ladder.
And what do you think of that sort of bet, Tom, heads up?
I didn't see it.
Well, the blinds are 2,000 and 4,000. Filigate's got 58,000. He's got queen 3 and he moves in.
All in?
All in.
No, it's wrong.
Well, and we see this so often because I think that people get slightly confused about heads up, because obviously heads up is a game in which often, not always, but often playing an aggressive style will get you a victory. And I think people take that idea too far.
I'll tell you what, one good reason not to do it is the obvious, which is that you force your opponent to make a right decision. He calls with a better hand, folds the worse one. Although, of course, he will fold a number of better hands, but you don't win much. But heads up is a very edgy game, and when the blinds are low and they've still got a long way to go, you're still sounding out your opponent. You don't know what his weaknesses are yet, but as soon as someone makes that move against me, I feel terrific. I feel so confident about this game. I don't feel the need to make moves. I can sit back and say, I'll let you make the mistake. So you've given your opponent a massive, massive confidence boost when you make an all-in move like that. And confidence is really important in heads up.
I couldn't agree more. One of the absolute key points about heads up, confidence is just paramount. But, I mean, the reason I love heads up games, whether I'm watching them or in them, is that it's poker at its purest for me. Because the cards are there as there's as little relevance attached to the cards as there ever will be, basically.
The cards count when the last bet is called,
yes,
and not till then.
Yes, that's right. That's right. So I hope you're going to enjoy this heads-up battle at home. Filigate is certainly more aggressive. I do think it's easier to play, bizarrely, you don't want to be in that situation, but it's easier to play a short stack than it is the big stack heads-up. I floated that.
Yeah, no, I'm not with you there, Nick.
Okay.
I mean, mentally, if I'm the big stack, my stack is the same size as his for the purposes of play, and I'm not in a hurry to close it down, so
yes,
I'm
Tom,
sort of in the same situation.
You're an excellent poker player. I'm just talking...
Well, as we can see from tonight's performance. That was Kehrer, of course.
Filigate has doubled through that king-jack, and it's now competitive again. And now he's picked up aces. I think you summed it up, that when you're the big stack, you're not in a hurry to close it out, but I think that the mistake that people often make is that they keep playing very fast when they've got a big chip lead, which doesn't take account of the fact that the small stack is looking to make a stand, so you're actually helping him if you give him opportunities to dial up.
Yeah.
And Filligate has instituted quite a comeback.
You could almost say he's institutional. Draws, very useful in heads-up poker.
Draws are very useful in heads-up poker.
Yeah, there's a very good chance that one of your cards will be a winner anyway, because your opponent's often on a bad pair, even if he's got a pair. So if you've got an overcard to the flop and an up and down straight draw, you're in good shape.
Yeah, and if you hit middle pair, you're very often heads up, particularly if the top card's an ace and there hasn't been a raise before the flop. It's actually a good flop for you.
Eight, nine suited, only a tiny dog there.
Interesting call from Filligate. And he doesn't play on. He did well not to, because Bone did have the top pair there.
So Filligate, he was looking like he might take a chip lead a moment ago, but he's drifted back down again.
Yeah, credit to Bone. He hasn't. He stayed aggressive despite the reversal. It's that horrible feeling of having to win the tournament twice. If you get your opponent down to a short stack and he recovers, not ideal. So Bone 1986, does that mean he's 20?
Looks like it, doesn't it?
God, I wish I'd been playing poker on TV when I was 20.
What were you doing?
God, bloody wasting my life, I think.
Out helping old ladies across the road.
And
Getting a degree.
yeah. And what I was thinking, to be honest.
Squandering your life away.
Well, it's an optimistic back from Filligate, but it works. Playing the board.
Nice hand, ace jack. And he's got one overcard.
Yeah, Filligate doesn't mind calling a pre-flop raise on the button. I think he's playing position a little bit, which is probably a good thing.
Well, pair of tens looking a bit sickly now. And he checks, I think possibly intending to call a smaller bet. And there's an awful lot to be said for doing that. Check calling out of position on the river, because you can make a lot of money by inducing a bluff, and of course you avoid giving money away when your opponent checks a better hand back at you.
Well, it has to be a big part of your game heads up, doesn't it? Because it's actually one of the primary ways of extracting money from your opponent that isn't card dependent. Is inducing those bluffs, because players are so have such a high propensity to make them when you're playing heads up. Have you read Harrington's heads up section?
I haven't, no.
It's pretty good. It's been one of my beefs for a while that none of the standard recommended poker books actually talk very much about heads up at all. And it's the first book to do it at any length.
I'm delighted. It takes me so long to get through his individual examples, because I give them my full thoughts, that I'm working through those books very slowly.
Enjoying them or not?
Yeah, it's interesting. They're sort of halfway in between Phil Hellmuth's book, Play Poker Like the Pros, which is a series of more or less of anecdotes devoid of any poker use.
Right.
And The Theory of Poker, which is just pure poker stripped down to its essential form. So Harrington's putting his examples in context, with a lot of context, which is great because it encourages you to see exactly how much information there is potentially available to you. But I just feel in lots of cases that his game is sufficiently different from mine to mean that I'd be nervous about parroting some of his plays. Much in the way that people come a cropper when they mirror Super System, because it's just too aggressive for them and the game they're in. So not by any stretch of the imagination am I saying that I'm a better player than Dan Harrington. That would be foolish. But at the level that he's talking about, which is a very high level, I mean, he's talking about good players in big games.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's a scope for lots of opinions. So it's a bit too specific to particular hands to me. I'd be more interested in seeing rather more theoretical sort of discussion of things.
Yeah. I think that's the problem with almost every poker book ever written, isn't it?
Yeah, apart from maybe The Theory of Poker. I don't know, Chiafoni and Rubin's Big Bet Poker's got quite a lot of fairly general stuff.
Yeah. I do think they're useful books for if you've been playing a little while and you want to improve your tournament game. I do think they'll improve most people's tournament games.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
I think they're the best. In my opinion, they're the best books on tournaments written.
So
apart from maybe from Slansky's advanced tournament strategies, but they're trying to do different things. The two.
yeah, Slansky is trying to do exactly bringing tournaments down to their absolutely fundamental basis, but I don't know how useful it is. Maybe if you're wildly sort of deluded about what a tournament is and the way that it is different from a cash game, then Slansky's book's useful for you. But I think, as you say, Harrington's is a bit more relevant to action on the ground.
Yeah. This is the heads-up match-up at the end of our multi-table tournament, and these two are playing for difference between first and second prize. Of course, first prize is $723 and second prize is $475. So, of course, a great achievement by both of them, as we started off with 244 runners. In actual terms, they're playing for $248, which is no mean amount. And they're both taking it very seriously, going at it hammer and tongs. Filigate's been behind for almost the entire time we've been watching, but he's handled that with a lot of aggression, and now he's hit that flop, and I suggest he pretty much needed to hit the flop, having decided to call the re-raise.
Still reasonably ahead, but there is draws there. His 10 is not what he wants to catch. And now he takes the lead. Oh, blinds 3,000, 6,000. And yet still so much play in here. 20 big blinds for Bone.
Yeah, there really is a lot of play, isn't there? And Bone obviously saying pretty. The only way he's going to get money out of Filigate is by inducing a bluff. But he doesn't know that, of course.
Just made up. And that's a strange make-up. And Bone has read it exactly right. Very strange make-up. I wonder why he did that.
It's one of the things that Harrington talks about a lot in his heads up section. Now, there's a big point to mention first, which is the blinds are the opposite way round on the sites we cover to the way round they are in a lot of poker, which is the small blind is usually on the button, but in the game we're watching, the small blind is off the button, which does make a difference to this. But one of Harrington's key points is that if you are with the small blind on the button, you should play almost any two cards. You should make up that two cards because you're getting 3 to 1 from the pot and you have position.
Position is the key aspect there,
Yeah, it is.
because although you'll catch a flop about 2 to 1, how happy are you going to be catching bottom pair? Not terribly happy.
Not terribly happy. Yeah, and I take his point, but I think it's an idea you don't want to take too far. Particularly because if you do it a lot, a good player will just start raising your makeups
Yeah.
on a regular basis, and then you're throwing chips away, aren't you?
Yeah, when I'm playing heads up, I vary it between raising, calling and folding. I'm always happy to put in a few folds here and then, just to encourage my opponent to think I've got starting values. But I certainly don't want to be making up a great deal.
No, well, deception is the key, isn't it, heads up? Because if you're playing somebody in a heads up game, strong, re-raised by bone with jack nothing, if you're playing heads up somebody in a game, as soon as they fall into any kind of repeating pattern, you're basically playing with a big edge, aren't you? Because you've got them.
That's what you're looking for. You're struggling to find, amidst the information you're getting in a heads up game, what is the key factor. And it doesn't matter what it is, as you say, Nick, there, once there is some particular aspect of their play, you've found your edge, and it's a massive edge.
It's a beautiful thing about poker, isn't it? Whatever strategy somebody employs, there is always a counter strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. Yeah, it is a very beautiful thing, actually.
It is. It's the only, it's one of the very few games or contests in existence where that's true.
Extraordinary. I'm just wondering if there is a Buddhist angle to this, but I think this is post-Buddhist where we're getting to now.
Well, poker is beyond the belief systems of man, isn't it?
It's primordial.
Otherworldly, even.
Well, look at this, exactly equal, bar a couple of pennies, Bone and Philgace. They've got each other's straightening cards. What magic can they weave for us here on Poker Night Live? Not much for that flop.
We slowly evolved to a different game, actually, because there's now a lot more limping before the flop, whereas there wasn't any limping when we first joined it.
They're just getting really tired.
Of course, they're now even, so they're now that sort of dynamic of one of them trying to force the action doesn't exist anymore.
No, they've got maximum play now.
Wow, nice flop for Phil Gate. Yeah, can't afford to mess around with it because obviously any overcard potentially helps his opponent.
Crucial there for him to review. Is there any evidence just Bone has got a pocket pair? 6 is unlikely. And if there's no evidence to suggest that Bone has got a pocket pair, then as Nick says there, force the action. So Philgace with much a chip lead here. And even if he gets it wrong, he still have a stack he can use. That is certainly by no means any excuse to enter a pot that you shouldn't be going into. Doesn't matter that he can't knock you out and you can knock him out. That's not the important point. You don't want to go into a pot unless you've got seriously good expectation. In an exact 50-50 situation here, where both players are exactly evens against each other, then there's more to be said for Philgace doing it than Bone doing it, because the consequences for him are less serious, but they are still serious. And he certainly shouldn't be happy to take a 45-55 on account of his, knowingly, at the start, before there's chips committed in the middle, on account of his larger chip stack. Doesn't matter that you can knock Bone out. If he doubles his opponent up, he's in serious trouble.
I have to say, I quite like the way both of them are playing. They're both playing in a controlled, aggressive way. I haven't seen any, massive mistakes, apart from when Filligate was short stacked and he moved in a few times when he didn't need to.
Looked like he just didn't want to play with that sort of, try and find a sensible play with that size stack. He was looking to double up or steal his way back to a useful stack.
Well, Bone has the goods here and he's slow playing, trying to get Filigate to bluff off some more chips. Bluffs off the absolute minimum. It's just a bizarre bet for Filigate to make because it's going to be called whatever cards Bone's got, isn't it?
I quite like Bone's raise because it's just small enough to be, haha, I've got nothing, but I know you've got nothing.
Mm. Quite a quite a battle. Well, if Bone is 20 years old, he's got a bright future in poker ahead of him from what I've seen. He looks to have a pretty decent heads-up game. Love to hear from you, Bone. Obviously, we're watching this multi-table tournament as live. We don't know the result. We did know it was played a little while ago. Poker at pokernightlive.co.uk if you're sitting up and watching yourself on TV, Bone. Love to hear from you. And the same goes for you, Filigate. Both of you have done fantastically well. As a reminder that we started off with 244 players, all with the same amount of chips. An equal chance. Not anymore. And if you've been watching this heads-up battle, one of the things you should be picking up on, obviously it's stating the obvious, but having the button is such a huge advantage when you're playing with two players. Filigate doing another one of those huge moves.
I didn't even see what he had. It was obscured by his big stack. What was it?
Jack 9. It's very bold as well because Bone had raised, so he's really got no way of knowing whether Bone's raising with a real hand or not.
Maybe he just got a sense.
He was right. I wonder if Bone's getting frustrated. Filigate's been hanging around for a long time and just hasn't given Bone an opportunity to finish him off.
No, and he's still got plenty of chips, 20 big blinds. It could go anyway, this. Neither player is clearly going to make a massive mistake, apart from if Filigate makes a big all-in and Bone's got a big hand, but there aren't that many big hands to be had when you've only got one opponent. Bone might just have to make a decision with something like ace-9, and even then, if he's making the right decision, he won't be that far ahead.
I think Bones looks the slightly better, slightly more aggressive player in the general play. So I don't think he shouldn't be feeling the need to call one of these all-ins unless he has the absolute goods.
It's a funny one, isn't it? Because it's kind of self-correcting. On the one hand, when you see a player like that move all in, you say, I'm going to catch him eventually. So you say to yourself, I can afford to wait.
Yeah.
But by saying to yourself, I can afford to wait, you're actually giving him the chance to make those moves work. So you've got to find the right sort of line in the sand that you're going to be, on average, calling before he's taken so many chips off you that you're losing.
I mean, if I'm Bone, he's not doing it often enough for me to want to make a stand with anything less than the goods.
What would be the goods?
For me, it would be a pair of decent proportions.
Nines?
Yeah, maybe nines.
Ace queen?
Ooh, I don't know.
Because if you're only playing higher pairs than nines and ace king, you're looking at
what
maybe 4 or 5% of hands.
Absolutely, but what I'm saying is the amount of times that he's doing it at the moment, which is only once in every 8-10 hands, I'm happy for him to have my big blind that many times. Because Bone's getting that back in the general play, although he loses a significant pot there, and we're back to even Stevens. It's a bit like, sometimes heads up is a bit like a boxing match in that if you are being you have to be honest during the play. If you're being eroded in the general play, you're looking for a knockout situation. You've got a better expectation if you can get the money in there somehow with some sort of decent matchup that's close to 50-50. Whereas if you're the better player, you want to avoid those sort of haymaker situations, just jab away. Filigate's taken the lead for the first time.
Do we know how much they're fighting for? Not that it matters, of course.
The difference is $250 roughly, 723 for first and 475 for second. So it's a $250 heads-up match, not insignificant, and an absolutely fantastic return for $10 either way. I hope they're both enjoying it, because I absolutely love playing in a good elongated heads-up battle.
At the end of a multi-table.
Well, yeah, it's great, isn't it? Because it's a no-lose, but you're still determined to win the whole thing. And it's so unpredictable, as I think I said previously on the show, that sometimes a heads-up will be like this, and it'll be a titanic battle, and it'll last for a long time. And other times it can be over in a heartbeat, like the World Series this year was sort of 6 or 7 hands, I think, after about 12 hours of final table play.
Well, when you get a monster like 7-3, then of course it's all going to go all in.
Can you help me out with something, Tom, that's driving me absolutely insane in my tiny brain? In the big tournaments, like the World Series of Poker, World Poker Tour, the other big tournaments, why do they never chip up? You see these final tables and these players with these huge stacks of chips, ludicrous amounts of chips, that make it a farce, really, because in order to bet and raise, it takes them so long to move the chips and count down the chips. As you can tell from these aspirations, it's become a bugbear. I don't understand what's the problem with reducing the number of chips and making it all a bit more feasible.
Because the person who's just drifted in from the shopping channel and doesn't know anything about poker doesn't understand that chips can be chipped up. So if they don't see large amounts of chips there with the last two players, they think that everyone started with one chip. So it's more televisual to have a little face poked out behind a massive mountain of chips.
It makes me giggle. I just think it's stupid. But maybe I'm wrong.
Also, some players like, I think, was it Julian Gardner who made the move of saying someone raised, it might have been Lane Flack, I don't know if I've got the names wrong, anyway, someone raised and he's just said all in and pushed all his chips in the middle, and they're all 25s or something ridiculous, so he had about 10 pence. But his opponent, who might have been Lane Flack, just said, I fold, you know, and the raise was tiny. It was, you know, he was getting 3-1 or something in the pot.
I mean, unfortunately for me, I've never been at one of those final tables, but I just think it must make playing so difficult because, as you just illustrated, it must be really, really hard unless you're concentrating to know how much people have got.
Yeah.
You don't want to spend, if you're in a final table of poker, the last thing you want to be worrying about is working out the size of people's chip stacks.
And the poor dealer.
I just dread to think.
Well, maybe when we're facing each other across a huge pile of 1p chips in the final of the World Series, we'll feel differently about it.
Well, yeah, I think we will.
I don't know if we're going to get to the end of this. I mean, it'd be quite exciting if they outlast us. Credit to them.
Well, I did a show with Matt Broughton quite soon after the multi-tables were introduced, where the last hand was 8 seconds before we went off air.
Wow.
It was fantastic. Let's hope we don't cut it that fine tonight, and let's hope we do get to see the conclusion. I mean, it's turning into a battle of attrition, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Well, often it is. Oh, there's an interesting email there from Andrew. Spotted something I didn't spot there. Do you read that out, Nick? Just
I'm more
press
than happy
it.
to read it out. This is going back to Tom's...
He's absolutely right. I've misread the board.
Okay. I didn't pick up on it either. I was enthralled by your chat. Andrew is talking about a hand in the tournament Tom played earlier. And he starts off with a compliment, which is always good. He thanks the show and the presenters for improving his game, so we appreciate that. Thank you, Andrew. I'd like to make a comment on Tom's tournament. In the hand where he had Jack Queen suited on the big blind against pocket kings, you said on the river you felt you had the best hand. Technically, this wasn't true.
No, that's not quite true. I mean, I was saying that I could push him off a king.
Yes.
Or I would have the best hand, both of which were ideal.
The board was 7, 7, 8, 8, ace. Therefore, you're actually playing the board.
Yep.
Personally, I would have checked the river. My reason for this is a lot of the time this hand will end up in a split pot. Therefore, your opponent may put you on a steal and call. That's true.
It's true, but then if I push him off half the pot with the kings, which looked like it might happen...
Well, pushing somebody off a split pot has massive value, doesn't it, obviously? Interesting.
But what he's certainly right about is that I misread the board there. Interesting. Thanks for that, Andrew.
Even the greats. No, well, it's everybody misreads boards in poker. Everybody. There's a very, very famous hand, actually, and I think they were down to 3 or 4 tables in the World Series of Poker about 3 or 4 years ago. Near the end of the World Series of Poker, so the most prestigious tournament in the world, and a player was knocked out, and so everybody at the table and the dealer and watching, and probably TV crew as well, nobody spotted it. Walked past Phil Helmuth, and Helmuth said to him, that was a split pot. And it was a split pot, but by that time the hand had been killed.
Oh my God.
Caused a massive ruckus, but everybody had misread it. So it's, you know, it's one of those things that does happen. I wonder if this will be our confrontation. It is going to be. Filligate can't put it down, and he needs to hit the 6. Oh, and he has hit the straight. Oh, poor Bone. Dear, oh dear.
Poor us, it was going to be perfect timing.
It was. I have to say I feel sorry for Bone, because I do think on balance he's played slightly better than Filgate, and he got his man in a perfect situation there. And suddenly he's crippled by an extremely unlikely.
Well, the timing is all right, in fact, but it's just gone the other way we were expecting. So it's all over. Phil Gates takes it. Nice contest, folks. Thanks for that.
Yeah, it was a great contest. It was a great contest. And I can't help feeling, no disrespect to Filligate, of course they both played excellently, it was great to watch. But I can't help feeling that the right man came second.
Well, I don't begrudge Phil Gates an outdraw, you know, at all.
Part of the game.
Part of the game, yeah.
Unlucky to Bone. But as I said during commentary, if he is 20 years old, that's a pretty good heads-up game for somebody who's 20.
Fantastic.
Excellent. I do hope you enjoyed that, guys. It's not often we get the chance to bring you an extended heads-up battle, and it is a little different aspect of poker. So, again, hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to flip it completely now and get some advice for you, from you, Tom, for a beginner.
Okay.
Tony says he's been watching the show for a couple of months and playing online for a few weeks and ended up with more chips than he expected. Well, that's good news. I want to change to money play. Okay, so he's been playing on Play Money, which, as we always say, is one of the great things about online poker. You can learn for free. He was wondering if there are any tips on the best way to start on Bet Me In. Should I start in tournament, play, multi-table, sit and go, cash games? Any tips? Tony would be most grateful, Tom.
Doesn't really matter, because I'm sure you're going to be fine. I would say probably sit and goes are the best beginning player, because on the one hand, cash games are probably a more difficult form of poker to play. On the other hand, multi-table tourneys, which share many of the characteristics of sit and goes, you can play well and not get a result for a long time because of the amount of variance involved in making the final table. So sit and goes have got the virtues of being quite good for beginners, because they force you to play good poker, really, because the blinds get so high, you've got to play aggressive. And it's damage limitation, because you sit down with a fixed amount, which is you can't blow more than that. But of course you do get your basic expectation kicks in much quicker in a sit and go, because there's less variance than in the multi-table. So I would do that. But to be honest, if you've got a winning attitude and you're playing super low stakes, then it doesn't really matter. Back to you, Nick.
Beautiful throw of
Thank
the
you.
action. You're waiting for your applause. Didn't happen.
I'm sure I'll be up for an award.
Yeah, good advice. Good luck when you do switch to money play. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Gestion has got a question. It's a topic we asked about a lot on the show, Tom. The sites he plays on, players seem to play like maniacs, and he's wondering if he should play at higher stakes to get a better feel, i.e. not everyone going in all in the first couple of rounds. We do get asked questions like this a lot, as in how do I play against people that are moving in like nutters?
Yeah, you want to stay there. If people are moving in with rubbish, then that is where you want to be. You won't get any easier at the top end. Sure, you may be slightly better than your opponents who aren't playing like maniacs and be able to outplay them, but you're not going to be much better. You're never going to find an edge bigger than someone moving all in with rubbish. So stay where you are.
Okay, we've reached the end of the show, Tom.
It's been fun.
It's been great. You played with our viewers.
I did play with them and they played with me. But there'll be no lawsuits.
Do hope you enjoyed it, guys. We've had a great time bringing it to you. There'll be another Poker Night Live tomorrow night. It'll be a beginner's night from 10 o'clock, and Tom and I will be seeing you again soon.